happening. And as we kind of came up onto quarantine, we managed to find some ground hornbills that we're going to try relocate. They ended up flying off away from us, so I think they landed not too far ahead, so we're going to just try and kind of get up there and see if we can potentially get a visual of them. They are not the most common bird, and so hopefully we will get them. They are very, very, very pretty, and actually one has just come off the tree. You can see them there. They're busy landing. Look at those big, beautiful, beautiful wings. So my favorite bird, I don't know, I've got quite a few that I really, really like, but I would have to say crowned eagle is probably my favorite. I really, really like them. They're big, bulky birds and quite mean looking things, and go after all kinds of small mammals, and so yeah, I'd say crowned eagle. But you can see these guys are busy walking around, and that's why they've got the name ground hornbill, is that they're moving around trying to find any sort of insects on the ground. Being big, heavy birds with these big, heavy wings, they're not very agile in flight, and so for them it's far better to be on the ground, walking around, flushing insects with their big, large body, and then they use those big beaks to grab whatever they flush. And insects is not the only thing that these guys will eat. You will find that they will feed on a multitude of different things, from snakes to scorpions to insects, chameleons. So quite a varied diet. But they seem to be just disappearing over the crest. We're going to try see if we can just loop around and maybe get them from the other side. They generally are not the most relaxed birds. They don't spend too much time in this area, and so these vehicles tend to chase them off a little bit. So they haven't quite got used to the vehicles just yet. But I would also like to welcome the two schools joining us today. We've got some schools that will be with us for the afternoon, so hopefully we will get lots and lots and lots of questions. So we have Providence Elementary and Glenwood Elementary. Sorry, just Providence joining us this afternoon. So I hope we'll get lots and lots of questions. So you can either use Twitter and use the hashtag Safari Live, or you can send through the questions on questions@wildearth.tv. So we'd love to hear from all of you. Hopefully we'll get lots and lots of people talking through. So Brent wants to have a bird photo competition.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to Providence Elementary for your very own African safari. Great to have you on the back of the car with us. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and I have the incredible cameraman Jean-Dre with me, and we are tracking a leopard. Now, last tracks of that female leopard went into this area, and of course this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Welcome back again, Providence. It is a beautiful African afternoon, and we are looking for a leopard, and of course we were going to look at a bird, but it flew away. But there are, you know what, I'm feeling quite hungry. There's a snack for me right there. Let's go grab that. Now, Remember to send me all your questions. I'd love to hear from you. You can ask me questions about birds, about insects, about trees, about grass. Now, so I've got enough energy to keep up with you guys on this drive. I think I'm going to have to get a snack. Hang on. Should have brought my knife. There we go. Doesn't that look tasty? Now this is called a white berry bush because it's got white berries. Quite a tasty one, and the bird we were trying to show you was actually eating on that before it flew away. But I'm going to have a little snack and tell you what it tastes like. Gendre, would you like a snack? Here we go, Gendre. There's some for you. And then let's get some for me. Yum, yum. So they're quite small, but they're really sweet. So it's like bush sweets. Yum, yum. Now, you've always got to be careful with what you eat in the bush, because some of the stuff is poisonous. So if you're at home and you see a bush grow with berries growing on it, make sure to ask an adult whether it's safe to eat. Yum, yum. Let's carry on looking for that leopard. If my car won't start, there we go. Now remember, this is live from the African bush. Now, I was trying to show you a bird, but it looks like Tristan, who's out on the other car, has succeeded in finding you one of the rarest birds in the bush. Let's go have a look.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Safari Live from myself, Tristan, and VM on camera. And yes, indeed, Brent, we've managed to locate some ground hornbills. Now, these hornbills are incredibly rare. Unfortunately, they've had a lot of habitat loss, and so their numbers have declined quite drastically. And so we have a nice little group of them here that are in the clearings, busy looking around for food. And these ground hornbills are the largest hornbills we get here. You can see they are quite big, almost turkey size, and they are moving around in the grass looking for any signs of food. You can see they kind of walk and they angle their head slightly to use their big eye to be able to look for any signs of little insects and reptiles, snakes and scorpions that they can then feed on. And so as they go, we will find that the males will often move around picking up little insects and, like I said, snakes and scorpions, and they will then present to the female when it's in the breeding period. So you'll see them having a beak full of insects, and then they will take them and go and present to the female to try and get that female to mate with them, which is quite incredible. At this time of the year, we won't see too much of that because they have already laid their eggs, and then the chicks, if they have been successful, should have already hatched. So they probably have a nest already, and so what they will be doing now is more collecting for the chicks. Now, if you can see the bird at the back there, it's walking with its beak open. And the reason why it's walking with its beak open is because it's quite hot. All right, it's about 82 Fahrenheit today, or 28 degrees Celsius, and it's very, very warm out in the sun. And these birds, being covered in black feathers, are heating up quite a bit. And so it's opening its beak like that to be able to get rid of all the excess heat. And so with the temperature, Rebecca has just reminded me that here in South Africa, we do not use Fahrenheit. We are in a different system of measurement for our temperature. So in the northern parts of the world, Fahrenheit is used as a measurement of temperature. But here in South Africa, we use Celsius, which is because we are part of the English system. We are colonized by the English back in the day. And so they implemented their system here. And so we use Celsius as a temperature measure, not Fahrenheit. But I'm just going to try and sneak forward. Jason would like to know how long the beak is of this bird. Well, Jason, this bird has quite a long beak. In inches, I would say it's probably can see they're just taking off and flying there. Unfortunately, we disturbed them a little bit, so they're going to go land in that big marula tree. So I'm going to try to get a little bit closer so we can get a nice look. I would say in inches, their beak is probably about 10 inches, 10 to 12 inches, so very, very large for a bird. Most birds will have much, much smaller beaks, but they need that large beak like that because when they're rooting around in the grass looking for these prey animals, they need to be able to stab that beak into the grass and grab that insect or reptile before it gets away. So if they had a short little beak and trying to catch a snake or a moving reptile, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to get close enough before that reptile sees them or that snake sees them and slithers away. Well, Ariana, you would like to know if these birds migrate. They do not migrate. These ground hornbills stay in the same area, in the home range, throughout their lives. All right, so they will form a flock together. There will be a breeding pair within this flock, and they will stay here throughout. They will set up an area that they feel like they can find enough food with favorable places for them to nest in, and so they then stay. They don't go anywhere else from there. And it's part of the reason why their numbers have declined a little bit, because they prefer certain areas, particularly here in South Africa. We've had a few years of floods, and that has destroyed some of the big trees that are on river bed areas, and that's one of their favorite places to nest. And so the loss of trees where they nest has caused their numbers to decline. So unfortunately for them, because they don't move, it can be a little bit of a problem. But you can see they're quite at home in the trees. You can see them all bouncing around inside there, and they'll utilize the trees just for safety. So whenever they're in a situation where they feel like they could potentially get harmed, they go up into the tree and then they sit there and they wait there until they feel like the threat is gone, and then off they'll go. All right, so they seem to be doing a very good job of hiding at this stage. I'm going to just try and move a little bit closer. Just see if we can get a nice clear view. So while we just reposition ourselves a little bit here, we're going to go off to Jamie so she can say her hellos, and we'll be back with you guys shortly.
Hello and welcome on our live safari, our sunset safari here in the middle of the African bush, and most especially a very warm welcome to those of you at Providence. It is lovely again to see you and to have you on our live bushwalk and on our live safari drives. Now, my name is Jamie, and this afternoon Craig is the gentleman on camera, so he is the one holding the camera. He's got a massive backpack up behind him, so that what you're seeing right now is happening right here in South Africa. And for us, it is late afternoon. For you, of course, it's early morning, so you've still got a full school day ahead of you. My apologies about that. But as you can see, we're on foot. We're not on a vehicle, and that gives us the opportunities to see some of the smaller things that we get out here, and that includes this amazing hole that we've just found. Now, it's not occupied at the moment, and the reason that I know that it's not occupied is that you can actually see, if you look really carefully, you can see the threads of a spider web. Now, this would have belonged to something known as a bushveld gerbil. So, just like gerbils that you've heard of before, it is a bush rodent, a naturally occurring bush rodent. And I'm trying to strip away some leaves so that I can show you. I'm hoping that the spider that's made this... Oh, no, she ducked in. I wanted to show you the spider that was on this web because it was something known as a widow spider. It's one of our most dangerous spiders out here. But it's dangerous because it's venomous, which means when it bites you, it makes you feel very, very sick, very uncomfortable. That's because it's got something called neurotoxic venom. So it makes your heart beat very fast, you feel scared, sometimes your muscles feel a little bit weak and paralyzed. But luckily, it is a spider. She keeps coming out and then I keep scaring her. I don't want to do that. Luckily, it is a spider that is not very aggressive at all. So you might know them as recluse spiders. So it's a type of recluse spider. And we get brown ones and we get black ones. And I wanted to see which one she is. but unfortunately I can't because she's ducked in. But this would be the whole of a bushveld gerbil. Obviously he or she hasn't been home recently, but you can actually see there's this beautiful pathway from where the bushveld gerbil has come running in and out of its tunnel and of its home. And sometimes what you see is that there's actually a network of tunnels around here, but I can't see any. And yes, absolutely, well done, Logan. I'm very impressed. Logan, you wanted to know whether or not the gerbil is nocturnal. It is nocturnal, which is why we hardly ever see them. So a lot of our rodent species are generally nocturnal. Our cane rats, porcupines. Now, I know that you guys, where you are, you will have heard of, or at least seen, maybe you've been lucky to see a porcupine. We have porcupines here too. They are rodents, very, very big rodents with very, very spiky fur. And bushveld gerbils. And sometimes what you can see, if we look around, but I can't see any now, is you can actually see a network of tunnels, and perhaps even a different exit tunnel where the gerbil can escape. But I don't see any anymore. And just look at how different everything looks, because some of you, I think, Providence, I mean, we've definitely had Providence watching before, and I'm sure you must, if it's the same class, if you've been on these live drives before, you must see the enormous difference in terms of the amount of green and the amount of grass that we've got. So it really has changed in the last few weeks, which is so exciting. That's because it's rained. It is our rainy season, which is happy news indeed. And while I'm walking through, I'm seeing lots of grasshoppers, lots of butterflies, but of course for poor Craig to get one on camera is relatively tricky. And wasps. I'm just standing still in the hope that they're going to land, but they're not. They're going to make Craig's life very difficult. So that's what we're going to do today. Because we're on the bushwalk, we're going to go and find some of the smaller insects and creepy crawlies and amazingly hidden things. Wait for it. I can't catch it. I should know better than to try and do this, to try and catch a grasshopper. I thought I'd give it a try, but unfortunately, no such luck. We'll keep looking. Now, there's a very good question coming through from Francis, because you want to know how long that tunnel was that we're looking at. It's hard to know exactly. Bushveld gerbils can have quite long networks of tunnels. So as I said, sometimes you might even have escape holes in different places. Now, I don't know exactly how long that tunnel is, but I wouldn't be surprised if it comes all the way through here. Of course, lots, and by that I mean a good couple of feet. So a good couple of meters. And in lots of animals, this is a really good question, Francis, because it gives me a good opportunity to show you something else. There are lots of animals that live underneath the surface of the ground. It's a really, really safe place. And that means you've got to be careful, because it's not just the small things that live under the ground. Sometimes things like warthogs. Now, a warthog is kind of like a wild hog. It's a big pig. And when you see their holes that they live in, you've got to make sure that you're really, really careful not to go and stand in front of them in case they come rushing out. Now, a warthog can be quite dangerous, but most of our birds are pretty safe. Let's go and see which one Brent has.
Look at this. Now, I think there's a predator here somewhere. So one of the best ways to find them is to listen for alarm calls, and something has really upset this little crested francolin, and it's complaining. So it could be a leopard, it could also be a snake, or a mongoose. Standing by. So I'm just talking on the Game Drive channel quickly. Negative. I'll come there now. Okay, well, sometimes I like to complain after something's gone past, and I just want to have a quick closer look into that bush in case there's a snake there. Now, one of Jean-Ray's favorite things to film is snakes, so he'll be very happy. And making sure there's no black mamba next to me. Let's look carefully. Just trying to see if there might be a snake, and the snakes can be really camouflaged. Now, Nevea would like to know whether I like tracking leopards. Nevea, I love tracking leopards. Well, I don't see any snakes. Do you, Jean-Andre? I think maybe the leopard moved past here a little bit earlier. And I think I know where he's gone. Okay. Now you can see I'm actually driving off the road while I was looking there. Now we know the leopards were around here this morning, so that's why I think that I thought that Franklin might have spotted a leopard. Now about 10 minutes ago we drove through a little dip where there's a dry creek, and we heard some alarm calls of other birds there, and now Taxon, who's come to help look for the leopards as well, has just called me on my game drive radio, and he's let me know that while I've been looking for the leopard, he's popped out behind me and he's sleeping on the road. And I also heard there might be the biggest animal in Africa there as well. Okay, we're very close now. Hello, Chiron. Chiron's wondering, what do leopards eat? Well, Chiron, they eat all sorts, but their favorite food is small to medium-sized antelope. So antelope up to the size of something about the same size as the white-tailed deer. And around the corner, look what it is. It's one of the leopards we've just been looking for. In the road. Now the tracks of his mother, now he's a young one, he's still relying on his mother to bring him food, but he will try to catch stuff by himself. The tracks of his mother have gone to the south of us, so she's gone looking for antelope, impala or duiker, and his sister's probably somewhere close by as well. Isn't he beautiful? Look at those wonderful rosettes. Now I can hear an elephant very close to us as well. Can hear him breaking some branches. Maybe the elephant will come join the leopard. Now the elephant and the leopard are not friends, and the elephant will try chase the leopard if it spots it. Now, oh, he's going to walk right towards us. He's got a little bit of a limp. He probably fell out of a tree while he was practicing his climbing. Look at all the butterflies around him. Now he's looking back to where that elephant is. But speaking about elephants, it sounds like Jamie's found one on foot.
And speaking of elephants, we've just encountered, I don't know if it's the same one that Brent is hearing with his leopard. I don't think so, though. I think Brent's a little bit further away from me. But look how exciting this is. We've actually got, believe it or not, there's two of Africa's giants very, very close together, and I think he's going to chase them. Craig, if you come here just a little bit, you might be able to see. Oh no, the elephants chased them away. The elephant, now this is an elephant bull, and it is quite a big elephant bull. So he's very, very far away from us, which is why I'm speaking properly. I'm not too worried. He knows we're here, and he's not terribly bothered by us. And in fact, the wind is blowing from behind us, so it's blowing our smell straight towards him. But he's quite a grumpy mister. He's already gone rushing out of the bushes to go and chase the other animal that I was going to try and show you, which was a giraffe. But now it's gone. There was a giraffe, but our elephant has chased it away. So there he goes, lumbering up the road. Now what we might try to do is we might try and get a little bit closer to him, but the way that we want to do that is we want to sneak around him so that he doesn't know that we're here. Because that's really how you want to view animals on foot, ideally. Because they often, when they see us in the vehicles, they're very, very comfortable with us. But when they see our upright form with our legs, so, not sitting down in a vehicle, then they react very, very differently. So cross and come and try and intimidate us and stand up big and tall and have his ears open and look down his nose at us. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to startle him. We don't want to make him upset in any way. So actually what we really want to do is creep up around him and see if we can. So we'll give it a try. We'll see whether or not we can get round him. We'll see if the wind works in our favor. If we can't, well, there's plenty more exciting things to show you out on foot. But he's moved very far away now. So there's one last thing I want to show you quickly. We were talking about bushveld gerbils and tunnels. And this is perhaps not the best example, but I mentioned that there are lots of animals that like to live underground. I've been trying to catch a locust, and I want to see where it's gone, but it keeps ducking and diving. I've been racing through the fields of this oak. There, it looks like a small bird. Okay, wait. And then I don't even know where it went. Craig, if I go running behind it and try and chase it towards you, do you think you could try and get it on camera, or do you think that's going to be impossible? Can try. It looks like it's a huge locust. It looks like the size of a small bird. And the elephant's not too bothered. Right, where did he go? Now, if we were to get right up close, I don't know where it went. I promise you it was here somewhere. I feel like I'm frolicking in fields. Now, if we were to get right up to that elephant, Ariana, you want to know how tall an elephant can grow. The answer is probably around 15 feet at the shoulder. So they can get very, very big. That's 5 meters, that's roughly 5 meters or so. And somewhere, I'll try and find it for you, I've got a picture of me standing where an elephant was standing. And one of our viewers, a couple of our viewers, very kindly put the pictures together so that you can get an idea of how tall the elephant was. A very big elephant, how tall the elephant was compared to me. And I'm not particularly big, I'm 5'7", but it does give you a really good idea as to the height. And I mean, he is an absolute giant. They really are absolutely huge. The females are always slightly smaller than the males, and when the males get to about 30 or 40 or so, then they experience a really serious growth spurt. So they grow very, very quickly, their tusks grow quite quickly, and they become very big and bulky. Now, Nathan, you want to know if elephants are predator or prey. And Mason, you want to know whether or not elephants are predator or prey. Mason, thank you for sending through your question. They are not actually really prey, not all that often. So the only animal out here that's big enough to hunt them is a lion, and generally they don't risk it unless they absolutely have to. Fortunately for us, they're not predators, because that would be utterly terrifying. Can you imagine if an elephant ate meat? Craig, can you imagine? If it'd be like something out of Jurassic Park, we'd all be racing down the road away from elephants racing at us, wanting to eat us. No, they don't eat meat. And the reason they don't eat meat, it's connected to each other. The reason why they're so big is that if they had a diet of meat, it wouldn't be able to make them that big. There wouldn't be enough meat for them to eat, particularly when you've got lots of herds. So you've got to have something, an animal that big has got to eat something that's very common and easy to find. Something like grass, for example, or trees. There's plenty of those about. And at the moment, the reason this elephant is around here, wherever he is, he's now wandered off completely. The reason that he's around here is he's looking for a really yummy fruit. Now, of course, we're not going to go walk straight at him. And Avery, you want to know whether or not elephants chase humans. And the answer is yes, they can. They can be very, very dangerous. And it's important for us to always remember that. They are much, much bigger than us. They're very big, they're very strong, and they are more than capable of hurting you and even potentially killing you. But it's important not to think of them as angry or aggressive. They're scared and they're wanting to protect themselves, or they want to make sure that they protect the herd. And that's really, I mean, generally the male elephants are quite comfortable. They know they're bigger than you, so they don't feel as threatened. But the females, because they've got babies to protect, they often are more dangerous to approach on foot. And that's why one of the other reasons why I want to, if we do try and follow this elephant, is to try and keep him from realizing that we are following him. So moving around him, using the wind to our favor so that it doesn't blow our scent straight at him, which it is now. Now, Jameer, you want to know what elephants eat. I want to show you. Now, an elephant will eat grass, and there's lots of... I just saw it again. An elephant will eat grass, trees, and fruits, roots, tubers under the ground, so it will dig under the ground. Okay, I know this is ridiculous, but it's so enormous. And it's here somewhere. It was close. I give up. Keeps flying away from me. I promise you it's there. It's a very, very big locust. It's absolutely enormous, and when it flies, it's about this big. All right. While we decide whether or not we're going to go and try and creep up on this elephant, let's go back to Brent, to an animal that's very good at doing creeping.
Look at this. The lovely little leopard has now decided to have a snooze under a quarry bush. Now, it's not unusual for leopards to sleep like this, especially while his mom's away, and he'll wait for her to come back, and hopefully she would have caught him some dinner. A lovely little ear flick, keeping the biting flies at bay, and there are lots of them out today. It's quite hot and humid today. I'm tired, kitty. Oh. Hello, Reese. Reese is wondering why leopards are so fast. Well, Reese, because the animals they need to catch are really fast. So they're very fast so they can catch their dinner. Now, a little leopard, a young male like this, he probably can't catch anything too big yet, but he'll catch squirrels and birds and other things. I'm going to try see if there's a spot we can get a better view of him. Now, Evan's wondering, where do leopards sleep? Well, sometimes they sleep in trees, but most of the time they'll sleep on the ground, just like that little boy is doing. At the moment, he's sleeping next to our water pump. So if you see a funny little house next to me as I drive past, that's our water pumps inside there. And it's got solar panels on top. So it runs off solar energy, and that brings water to our camp where we live. I think we're going to get into a good spot now. Barely there. Oh, he's decided to jump up. Here we go. You might be getting a little bit hot on that termite mound. There's not much shade there, so he might move a little bit deeper into the shade. He might decide to go chase a squirrel. Now, Chiron's wondering, do the mother leopards protect their young? They do, Chiron, but only when they're there. Often they have to leave their babies alone for quite some time while they go try get dinner. And they normally leave them in a place like this where there's lots of thick bush where the babies can hide, and when there's lots of trees the babies can climb to get away from hyenas and lions and wild dogs. I think he's thinking about having another nap. Oh, deciding maybe he does like this termite mound as a good spot to nap. Oh, hello, tired kitty. Now, Megan is wondering, how do I know how old this leopard is? Well, Megan, I was lucky enough to see this leopard the day he was born, when he was about the size of a sausage. He was tiny, and that was on the 2nd of February last year. So he's nearly a year old. It's coming up to his first birthday, and he's nearly as big as his mom now. And he'll be hoping his mom will be returning shortly with some dinner for him. See how he lifts his head like that? He's testing the wind, smelling all the smells. Now, Megan is wondering, do leopards eat termites? Well, yes they do, Megan, especially when the flying ants are out. It's a very good source of protein. But leopards are great opportunists. They'll eat grasshoppers, they'll eat dragonflies if they can catch them. But if they have a choice, they'd rather eat meat. So he's not looking for food at that termite mound. Now, we're going to leave this, we're going to sit next to this little leopard for a bit longer, but while we wait to see if he gets up to anything, let's go to Jamie, who's on an even bigger termite mound.
I hear that Brent has been telling you all about the fact that leopards will eat all kinds of things, including termites. Now, this is the home that termites build. We call them termite mounds or terrariums. Ow! Now it's ow, ow, ow. Oh, I wanted to show you something, but it went away. It sliced through my hand while I was holding it. Oh well, that was embarrassing. Sorry, Herbie. Herbie went to all that effort to try and collect it for you, to show you this massive locust, and I let it go. He's got it back again. Right, let me finish talking about termites and then I'll come join you. So, termites live in these massive termite mounds that they build. And the amazing thing about termite mounds is that this bit that you're seeing is just the tip of the iceberg. So there's so much more underneath the ground. Now, you only see this little bit, and that's because this is an old termite mound and I don't think it's active anymore. And it has, the reason that they build these massive systems is so that they can create a vent. It's like having central heating or an air conditioning unit. So when it gets too hot inside, underneath, because you can imagine underneath the ground, lots of termites, it gets very, very warm. So what they'll do is they'll create basically a system of chimneys that they can open and close to make sure that they keep the temperature of the termite mound at the same sort of level. So this is the termite mound that we are with at the moment. That's what Brent was talking about when he says leopards will eat termites. And I'm going to look and see whether or not I can't find any for you. It's cloudy, so they might be out, but I don't think so. Usually termites only really go out and build during the evening or on rainy days. Right, let me see if I can get this from Herbie. Did you manage again, Herbie? Well done. This is Herbie, everybody, for our new viewers. He's got the best smile in the bush. There we go. Yeah, those legs are strong. Okay, we won't be told there. There we go. I don't want to hurt him. Yeah. Okay, I'm scared of hurting it. Okay, there. I got it. This is Herbie. Herbie, you can say hello to everyone now that you've done it. Thank you, Herbie. He's running away. That's Herbie. Herbie helps us find things. He's a very, very good guide and an exceptional tracker, and he helps to keep us safe. So while I'm busy doing stupid things like chasing locusts, he can make sure I'm not about to get flattened by an elephant. I'm scared now, Craig. I don't want it to escape. It's absolutely massive, and it is fascinating to look at, which is the reason why I've been trying to show you all. There it is. Antenna sticking out. Now I'm scared to open my hand, but I want you to see the amazing wings on this. Because when it flies, when I say it looks like a small bird, it really does. It looks like a little finch or something. There you go. It's getting prepared to leap at you, Craig. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. There you see? Not so scary after all. Oh, apparently this is your first drive. You've never been on a drive with us before. Wasn't that exciting? You've seen elephants on foot, you've seen leopards with Brent, and now you've seen this locust with myself. So what was digging into me and what it managed to hook into my fingers earlier is these spines on the back of its leg. And it says, see, now it's relaxed, it's not moving anymore. There you can see. Those are the things that were digging into my hand. And because it got hooked on, it's so incredibly strong, and I didn't want to hold it too tightly in case I hurt it. It managed to hook those into my fingers and push me away. So I don't want to keep it captive for longer than I have to, but I did just want to show you this incredible creature, because they are truly incredible. Our locusts, of course, swarm. Oh, hold on one moment. Just check and see. There we go. There you go. You can even see, if you look closer, you might even be able to see his mouth parts. How cool is that? Oh, cool. Now, Logan, you want to know how fast the locust is? Faster than me. Was clearly the answer. Definitely faster and potentially somewhat stronger than I am. So it was very fast. It's quite a fast moving when it flies. I couldn't give you an exact speed. I don't know if you've ever seen the swarms of locusts that gather in certain parts of the world. It's absolutely incredible. They gather in these vast numbers. So this locust, when it flew off, and I wonder whether I think it's decided it's going to pretend to just sit here and not going to fly, which it was doing earlier. This locust, when it flew off, could move faster than I can run. Let's put it that way. Now, remember how I said that the elephant chased the giraffe? Sorry, just before it disappears, we'll get back to talking about our locust in a second. There is a giraffe nibbling on some trees over there. There we go. Can you see it there? Yeah. Sorry, Craig, I know that's very far away. There you go. There is a giraffe feeding off a tree at the back there. That's the giraffe that the elephant chased. Can you believe it? One big animal chasing another one. Okay. Cool. I just wanted to show you that quickly because I was scared it was going to disappear. We have a question about where its eyes are. Its eyes, Maya, let me grab some grass. I don't want to scare it. Its eyes are here. Those are its eyes over there. Here we go. That's its eyes. So it's got really, really complex eyes in the way that it's covering up the eyeball. Sorry, I'm trying to have a closer look myself because I'm trying to work out. I think it's got stripes in its eye like that, maybe for sun. Might help, almost like sunglasses, polarized sunglasses. Might actually help to absorb the light so that on bright days it doesn't get blinded by the sun. And then, if it's going to be so kind, this seems to work better than trying to hold it. Just let it rest on my hand. But let me see if I can show you where its mouth is. Its mouth is under here. And if you look around its mouth, you can actually see it's got sort of feeler type things that will reach out and gather the various plants that it eats into its mouth. And Francis, you want to know if it eats smaller insects. No, it doesn't eat smaller insects. It's mainly a plant eater, which is why when you get those swarms of locusts, it can be absolutely devastating for certain areas, because what it means is that they'll often go through farmers' areas, eat all of the crops, eat the various produce that the farmers are trying to grow. And that can actually do some really serious damage. It can mean in certain countries that rely on farming a great deal for their food, it does mean that they might actually really struggle that particular year. So no, they don't eat smaller insects. They will eat things like grass. They'll eat the plants that we get around here. Now, Avery, you want to know if locusts are scared of humans. Well, I think this one probably is now relaxed because it's realized that it hasn't been eaten. So they're not necessarily scared of people in particular, but you saw when I was walking through the grass, it kept getting up and flying away from me. And that's not because I was a person, it's just because there was something big moving towards it. Now I think it's realized that it's actually not in any danger, that I'm not going to eat it, or it's just trying to stay very still, because a lot of predators are attracted to movement. So when they see something move quickly, then they want to go and chase it. The same goes for Hosana. If something were to move quickly past him, like this, because Hosana would catch this, just because his hunting instinct tells him to go and chase something that moves. So it might be that it's trying to stay still. But yes, I mean, when you're this big, you can imagine lots of things want to eat you. Birds, maybe small cats. There's so many different things out here that could potentially eat a locust, but there's lots of them around. I noticed when we were first walking through quarantine, they were sort of swarming up around us. Now I'm going to release our locust so that it no longer has to... It just slid over the back of my hand. I'm going to release our friend so that it can go back to its whatever it was doing with its day before I arrived. Let's go and have a look at what Tristan has found.
Thank you, Jamie. Yes, we've managed to locate a nice big pod of hippos that are frolicking around on the edge of this big waterhole. There is quite a nice sized group of them. We had quite a bad drought this year, so there's not very many places with a lot of water like this dam, and so this is one of the few places where we get a really nice big population of hippos, and it's really nice to have a whole big group together, which will be full of females and young ones, and I believe there is a newborn baby here somewhere, so I'm going to try see if we can find the little baby. Megan would like to know, while we're on the topic of rain, how much rain we get every year. Well, it's very varied, Megan, but we normally get anywhere between 600 millimeters and 1,000 millimeters of rain in a single year. Now in inches, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's about 4 or 5 inches, somewhere there. I'll have to check and make sure for you though. But you can see it's still quite hot now, so most of the hippos are still underwater with just their little heads poking out. You can see the eyes and the nostrils and then those little ears that flick. And so the reason why the ears are flicking like that is because as they go underwater, their ears will twist and seal, and when they're underwater it stops all the water from going inside their ears. I'm sure many of you have been swimming in your swimming pool and the water goes inside and you're not able to get it out and you can feel it blocks your ears. So these guys have very cool ears that twist to seal off, but then when they come back up again there's still some water that is stuck inside there. So to get rid of that water so that it doesn't go into the ear, they just swish their ears and they end up getting rid of all that water. Evelyn would like to know how many hippos we have here. Well, Evelyn, I haven't been able to count just yet. They keep going up and down, but there is probably at least 15 of them, maybe more. I see there's some in the distance as well that are busy moving around. So I'd imagine there's probably about 15 of them. There you go, you can hear them talking to one another. So there's another one that's right off in the distance. So I would say about 15. And like I say, it will be a mixed group of little babies and moms, and there will be one big dominant male here that will try and keep all of these females and their young ones safe. So if another male had to arrive here, you'll find he'll be quite aggressive and try and push that male away. And so these hippos will stay here under the protection of that male, and you'll find that they'll really enjoy the fact that they can have that protection. It's always nice as a female when you've got young ones, if you've got a big strong male that can protect you. And we can see a bit of a yawn going on there, and look at how wide that mouth went. So these guys have really incredible mouths that open almost 180 degrees when they are yawning. And Avery would like to know what hippos actually eat. Now, hippos are vegetarians, so they eat only grass. Alright, they will come out of the water at night or in very cool, overcast, rainy conditions so that they don't get a sunburn or dehydrate, and they'll come out onto a grassy area, and with those big mouths and big lips they'll break up little bits of grass, and they'll then pop that in and feed off that during the evenings. And a hippo will eat about 100 to 200 kilograms or 300 to 400 pounds of food in a night, which is pretty incredible. They're able to really consume quite a bit, but they have a very, very, very bad digestive system. So even though they're eating quite a lot, about 40% of that is actually coming out without being digested at all. And you can see that hippo's having a very nice nap against his big tree there. So Jason would like to know how wide a hippo's mouth opens. So after seeing that one yawning there, you can see that it opens very, very wide. So in terms of a degree of angle, like I say, it can open about 180 degrees. In terms of a distance in inches, I would say probably maybe 12 inches from the bottom of the jaw to the top of the jaw, maybe a little bit less. I've never actually measured it, but it would be, I think, something quite difficult to measure. Hippos are not always the friendliest of animals, and so trying to get towards a hippo's mouth to measure how far it opens would be not a very clever idea, and not something you would ever want to do. You would try to keep as far away from hippos as possible. But you can see they're just up and down all over the place. They like spending a lot of time underwater. Maya would like to know how long these hippos stay underwater. Well, Maya, they can stay anywhere from about 5 minutes and at the most 7 minutes. But generally about 5 minutes is about how long they like to spend time underwater. They have very, very, very large lungs, and so for them, they go under and they can spend quite a bit of time underneath there. And that's why you keep seeing them going under and then popping back up again. So as they utilize their oxygen source, they then come up and will breathe again. Alright guys, so with all that audio, I think it's the hippos, and from myself, Brent and Jamie, we would just like to say goodbye to the schools that have joined us today. It was really fantastic to have you guys. I hope you really enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you guys with us very, very soon.
Welcome back everyone, and we are in our normal safari. We are still sitting with the little prince, Hosana. And a very noisy, great spotted cuckoo flying over. Now, I've been waiting quite excitedly for this. So, and Tristan has joined us. Jamie has agreed to join in this little game. And so, well, I haven't had a chance to speak to Taylor yet. James is declined. I think he's scared. So we are starting from this afternoon a presenter bird challenge that will continue every month to see how many bird species we can get live on air throughout the year, not only for a day or two. So we're going to need some help from you guys to let us know what bird species. So you can have, at the moment, you can have a Tristan, Jamie and Brent column, and we're going to see how many bird species we can get each month and finally tally it up at the end of the year. I think we might get lucky enough. We maybe might be able to push 300 on a live drive with everyone trying to get you new species all the time. But of course, Mr. Hosana is not moving a muscle, so I think we're going to maybe go look for some birds and his mother and take a little meander down towards the south. As you can see, that is one very flat cat. Now, you might have noticed, some of you might have noticed on this morning's very exciting TV show with wild dogs, leopards, elephants, and all the other stuff in between, that young Hosana has a limp. And I think he fell out of a tree. He's been doing that quite a lot, so it was quite inevitable that he was going to injure himself at some point, but nothing serious. Hey, big boy. And he has got the perfect pillow at the moment. Very tired kitty. And we're going to wait here for Aubrey to arrive, just in case he misses him. And till we do that, remember you can get hold of us by using the hashtag Safari Live or the email address questions@wildearth.tv. We would love to hear from you if you've got any questions about leopards or birds or anything out here in the African bush. Ooh. Listening to the game drive. Now, well, Mr. Hosana is snoozing so steadily. We're going to go back across to Jamie, who's found something in a thicket.
While Mr. Hosana snoozes away, this particular spider, and I really have to tell you, I have no idea which species of spider this is, but she has not been snoozing. She has been hard at work, and when Craig first spotted her, she was busy doing what spiders do best, and this is a sort of a spider that uses a traditional method that we always think of when we think of spiders hunting. So she's built this beautiful web in the leaves of the silver cluster leaf, and you can barely see it, which of course is the whole idea, because some poor hapless stingless, I think it was a stingless bee, because there's quite a few of them fluttering about. Might have been a stable fly, in which case I feel less pity for it, because those bite. But she grabbed it, and when Craig first spotted her, she was busy wrapping it up in silk in order to preserve it for later, and it happened in 2 seconds, Craig? I mean, it really was. It was unbelievably quick, the way that she caught and wrapped up that particular poor fly that flew into her web. Now, I said I'm not too sure what she is, but I think there's a possibility that with that very, very large abdomen, she might actually, it might be a she, and she might be pregnant. And spiders, of course, lay eggs in egg sacs. And she seems to have a nice little patch here that she's made as an attachment point for where her web has joined onto the tip of the leaf. And then you can actually see she's got a sort of a layer of web there. So she obviously, because of her size, if she sat in the middle of the web, it might give it away. So I think what she does is she waits till she hides there on this leaf, all curled up, and basically completely hidden away. Because she's tucked all of her legs in. Sorry, just want to try and have a close look at her. She's tucked her legs up. She just looks like a blob. That's what she looks like. She's just a blob on the tip of the leaf. So she's got a really nice little hiding place there on the top of the leaf, and then she's going to wait for something to, let's see if we can do this. How light our touch would have to be, or perhaps she's already suspicious of us because she's seen us. But I wonder if we didn't just touch it. I don't want to break her web. Just pull ever so gently. See if there's any response. No. No luck. The spider web, of course, is unbelievably strong. It's one of those things that biological engineers have started looking at in order to utilize the way in which its chemical composition, the way in which it's structured, to produce things like the equivalent of Kevlar vests, so bulletproof vests, because it's got such powerful tensile strength, which means if you pull it. Now, there's a type of spider out here called an orb web spider, and supposedly, and I've tried this before, I mean, I'll try it. I'd have to find an old one to give you a demonstration, which is pretty difficult to find. But if you wrap the web around itself like this, so if you were to just, let's pretend this is the spider's web. If you were to do this until this was the thickness of my finger, you could actually hold back an aeroplane. You could stop an aeroplane from taking off. That's how strong, when I say it's tensile strength, I mean how strong it is when you pull it, which is incredible. And I'd have to demonstrate this to you, but if you were to find an old web, and we hardly see orb spiders anymore, so I don't want to go and break one's web just for the sake of showing you this, but if I were to find an old one, I've tried this before, where you take the strand, and they have a big long anchor strand, which is yellow in color. You take it and you fold it a few times. You just keep folding it up, and then try and snap it. It's impossible. Promise you, it is impossible. And not just, I mean, obviously I've tried, very, very strong men have tried to do it before, and friends of mine have tried to pull it apart, and you absolutely can't. So that's the magic of spider webs. They are such well-designed things. Mitch, you want to know how many types of spiders there are in South Africa? I used to know this, Mitch. I'm trying to remember exactly how many spiders there are. I can see where I circled the number in my book many, many years ago, learning about it. How many spiders are there? I can't remember off the top of my head. Lots? Around 100, maybe more? Potentially, probably more. I'm sorry, Mitch. I should know off the top of my head, but I don't. How many do you think there are, Craig? I'm guessing over 100. I don't know either. I should know, but I cannot remember off the top of my head exactly how many there are. Lots and lots of different kinds, and they've all got different hunting methods. Most of them do what our female spider did, which was build a web and wait for something to fly into it and then catch it. Some of them do different things. Some of them are active hunters, and there's some that live around this clearing that perhaps I'll have a look for later, that live in tunnels and they only come out at night. They're called baboon spiders, and they're basically like our tarantulas, and they'll come out and scurry about, and they'll actively hunt something rather than trying to catch it in a web. You get trapdoor spiders, you get jumping spiders, also active hunters, you get link spiders, which are camouflage, beautiful green spiders that hide underneath the leaves. How many spiders are there? I can't think off the top of my head. I cannot remember. The amazing thing also, of course, is that with things like spiders, is that biologists are starting to get to the point where they're classifying different types of spiders or finding new and different types of spiders all the time. Right, what we're doing, I can smell it was here somewhere. The reason I'm here on this road is because some of the other vehicles have gone to go and have a look at that elephant, and I don't want to go walking in there while they're trying to enjoy an elephant sighting. But I thought we'd come and have a look at where Karula caught her breakfast yesterday. So she left the cubs. When I first found the cubs, they were on that dead tree over there. So they were settled over there, but somewhere here she managed to catch an impala, and I want to see whether we can find any evidence of that kill or if they've eaten absolutely everything. So basically we're doing a crime scene investigation, essentially. We're going to go and investigate and see if we can't find any bits left over, although I think with Hosana around, the chance of finding any leftovers is a little bit unlikely. Now, speaking of Hosana, let's go find out what he's up to.
We're still with Hosana. He hasn't moved. I've just got a report that there might be a male lion on his way into Djuma. So I think we're going to leave the lovely little Prince of Djuma having a snooze, and we're going to go try see if we can find the big male Birmingham boy who's apparently on his way towards us. So goodbye, a little Hosana. Let's see. I think I'm going to sneak back squid through. Okay. Okay. Now, of course, I haven't seen the lions for a bit of a while. I saw them last week, the Birmingham boys. Now, of course, the Nkahumas seem to have moved right up into the Manyeleti, following the herds of buffalo and zebra and wildebeest. And we're not seeing many wildebeest and zebra here. The sticks have headed down south into, well, that one could be a bad one, flicking back to get us. There we go, let's just sneak through there. You okay, Jean-Andre? Still there? Now, I actually think, although I really want to tell the story, we'll let Jean-Andre tell the story. Jean-Andre, did you nearly die today? No. You do not remember an encounter with a savage grey beast with tusks?
I'm not sure I would call it almost dying. Severely injured, possibly?
Or nearly severely injured? Well, the bottom of a warthog's tusk could open an artery in your leg and then you would bleed out there in the bush.
Yes.
Yes. So, actually, after the show, the TV show ended this morning. Well, Herbie and Jean-Andre and Steph heard one of the most decisive, or not decisive, distinct sounds in the African bush. And it goes something like this. Queek, 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 queek. And it's the sound of a warthog being murdered by something. So they went to investigate, and they found masses of blood all over the place. And from the enactment that Steph gave me, Herbie walked up to the warthog, or to a termite mound where there was a hole. Herbie then suddenly leapt. Warthog that had been bloodied by a leopard came shooting out of said hole straight at Jean-Andre, who had the big Bushwalk backpack on. But actually, no, I have to stop the car to show you what Steph said Jean-Andre did. He said with that big Bushwalk backpack, it was something like this. Trying to get away, and Steph going, yeah, 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 trying to shout at the warthog to make him change direction. Fortunately, Steph shouting did quite well. So if we get no luck with the lion, we might go have a look around that area to see if we find a wounded warthog. Now, we think it was possibly Shadow who attacked that warthog, but it did escape from her. So the last Truxaculo went off into this block over here, but it sounds like there's a male lion heading right towards Twin Dams. Leaving one station with that Hosana Ingwe at Philemon's Dip. There's a report of a Birmingham boy heading northwest from Little Gowrie. I'm going to go follow up around Twin Dams. Okay. Whew. Of course, this is why Jean-Andre is in the car this afternoon. He's feeling a little bit scared after his warthog encounter. Of course, I'm only joking. Jean-Andre does love the bushwalk. But okay, it sounds like Tristan's finally made it all the way down to Cheetah Plains. I wonder what surprises are in store.
Indeed we are, Brent. We are all the way down on Cheetah Plains. We had a kind of sneaky suspicion that maybe the two Cheetah brothers would be around, and I believe that they were moving around in this area this morning, so we've come back to this area to see if we can potentially find them. And so we're almost at the open area now. I know one of the other vehicles said that they did have a brief visual during the day, so I'm hoping that we will be able to locate them once we get onto the open area. Now, I also believe Brent has challenged all the guides to a birding competition each month. Now, given that this month is one day away from being completed, I would say finding the ground hornbills was a good win in terms of luck. I think he's going to struggle to find ground hornbills in one day, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to count it today. I'm sure we're going to eventually only end up counting February. but it should be quite interesting. I think it will get quite heated towards the end of the month. Once most of the common birds have been snapped up, it's going to start getting quite competitive out there, which is great. It's going to be an interesting one to see. So, like I say, hopefully these two cheetah brothers will be somewhere here. They really, really do enjoy this area. Fortunately, it's a little bit hit and miss with them. They tend to move quite big distances, and so they're often in and out very, very quickly. They like to go north-south more than anything else, and so I'm hoping that we haven't missed them and that they've decided to lie up somewhere. Maybe in this overcast weather they even decided to do a bit of hunting, and they will have maybe caught something and then lay up once they caught something. So that will be the hope, but let's see how we go. Now if we don't come right with the two cheetah, we're also going to have a little scratch around to see if we can find any sign of Inkanyeni or Vatumi, her cub. I believe they were around the last few days as well, so also have an eye out for them. So Natasha would like to know if the roads in the Kruger National Park are named. Well, in the Kruger National Park, yes, they're not named, but they have a number and a letter that corresponds. So like H1 or H17, which will indicate a road. And so when you go into the Kruger National Park, you will be given a map with a whole sort of description of all those roads so that you know where you are. Here in the Sabi Sands, it's slightly different. All our road names here have, all our roads have names. They are of varying descriptions. Sometimes it's according to potentially an animal that was seen here or on that road. So you'll get sometimes Leopard Road or Lion Road. And those will kind of determine what the names are. So yes, they all do have names, and the reason why would they have names is because otherwise it will be very difficult to find your way, especially if you find something and you want to call one of the guides to come and have a look, and you can't really say I'm on the third road from the left. So they all have names to be able to just help us find each other if we find sightings. So yes. So it's amazing to see from last week. I was driving on Friday morning, and compared to today how much water has fallen. It seems like a lot of rain has come in. Most of the small pans are all very, very full with water. It's really quite beautiful to see. I'm very, very glad that we got some good rain. A lot of the roads are also showing signs of rain. There's quite a few ruts and areas that are very, very wet. So the open area is just in front of us here, literally about 100 meters or so, and I've looked on the road. I don't see too many signs of tracks, but the road is very, very hard. It's not an easy road to see tracks on, particularly after this rain. It's kind of been baked solid and it's got a nice cap on it, but hopefully they've come down this way. They sometimes cross. There's an open section to our east here that they utilize. They don't often utilize the road itself. So it's not always a sign that they're not here if there's no tracks. But this has got to be one of my most favorite areas. It's so beautiful. It's so open, which is very different to a lot of other areas within the Sabi Sands. Most of the Sabi Sands is quite a dense, thick environment. So these big open clearings really are quite beautiful. And actually, right in front of us, there we go. There's the two cheetah. Amazing. So both of them are here by the looks of it, or just one that I can see. I would imagine the other one will be here. But let's have a look. I did see some vultures when we drove in, so I wonder if they potentially didn't kill something. So it's actually just the one cheetah by itself. I don't see the other one. I don't know if it's potentially sitting in the grass somewhere here, but at the moment it's just the one. There has been another male cheetah that's been hanging around. I've seen a few sightings of him in December, January, and he tends to be a little bit more skittish than the other two. But you can see there by VM's camera work that this guy's got an absolutely massive belly. So those vultures that we saw earlier, I'm sure are an indication that this cheetah has had a really good meal. Big full belly, and so he's found himself a nice little place to lie down and rest. I'm just scanning around as we're sitting here. I don't see any sign of the other one, so this could be a different cheetah. Maybe some of the viewers that have seen the others and have got some screenshots and markings can have a little look for us and make sure, and send it through and let me know if this is the same cheetah as those two brothers, or if we have a different one. And wouldn't it be great if we do have another male? That would be really, really good. But you can see breathing really heavily after a big meal like that. Be very, very warm, and that stomach is really swollen, so it's pushing up on the lungs and really battling to get a lot of air in, and that's why they end up panting like that. Now, Michael wants to know if I have any idea of how old the two cheetah brothers are. Well, Michael, when I first arrived in the Sabi Sands, in the northern Sabi Sands, which was in 2011, they were already being seen. At that stage, there was 4 of them. And they were adults already. They were roaming around on their own. They weren't with a female, and so in all likelihood I would imagine that they were probably already 4 or 5 years old. So those two must be now approaching 10, somewhere around there. That's what I would imagine would be the case. Obviously it's quite difficult to know exactly without having seen them as cubs, or without seeing the female with them, or knowing where they've come from. It becomes quite difficult to age them, but I would say roughly around 10 years old, somewhere there. But typical cheetah fashion, it's now plonked itself down and is laying on its side with its head up. It's a very common way that cheetah lie down. They have this very flexible spine, and so for them, even though it looks really uncomfortable and it looks like it shouldn't kind of suit the way that they would want to sleep, actually works really well for them. You can see he's having a few problems with flies landing all over him. After eating a meal like he has, be little bits of meat and blood that will still be in the fur, which will be causing this cheetah to attract quite a few flies. They'll be landing on there due to the smell. Also, they'll try and sequester the moisture from his nose, and while he's panting, often they will produce quite a bit of saliva, and so you find the flies trying to get to the saliva itself. And the other reason why cheetah do tend to sit like that is because they typically are very, very vulnerable, particularly in areas like this where we've got high densities of lion, hyena and leopards. The cheetah is right on the bottom of that food chain, and so they can't really afford to be like the lions and pass out completely and spend 20 hours a day fast asleep. They need to be a little bit more aware of what's going on, especially if they've killed something nearby. The sound could attract other predators, the smell could drift onto the wind, and that can attract other predators. So lying like that means that this cheetah has got a really nice view all over this open section, and is then able to see if anything does approach. But he seems fairly relaxed. Like I say, the other male cheetah that we were starting to see in December, up around in Koro and those areas, was not nearly as relaxed as this. So I don't know if maybe, like I say, the other brother is somewhere close by and is just resting, just like this male is, or could potentially be protecting the carcass. The vultures that we did see weren't down on the ground. They were all sitting in a tree. So it's potentially could mean that the other one is sitting with the food. But isn't that the most magnificent animal? Just that spotted coat, that streamlined head and long body with that long flattened tail. They are so, so beautiful. And they really are such a special thing for us to see here. In the Sabi Sands, their numbers are not great, and there really are not too many sightings of them. They are an animal that has struggled to create an environment for them to survive here, and so generally it's fleeting glimpses of them passing through. So to get one resting and relaxing is really very, very special. Now, while you see that tail flicking up and down, you can see he's just battling with those flies, and you can see actually how flattened that tail is. So we're going to spend some time with this cheetah and see what it gets up to, and see maybe potentially if we can find the other one, or if this is a different one indeed. And while we do that, we're going to go back to Jamie, who I believe is on the search for Karula. I'm not sure if she's had any luck yet, but I'm sure she'll fill us in.
I'm not on the search for Karula. I'm pretending to be Karula, since we've managed to find the place where she dragged her kill off to. And I'm here. And I just wanted to give you a demonstration as to just how easy it is in summer to miss out on seeing a leopard. Now, of course, I'm not nearly as camouflaged as a leopard is, but Craig was standing on the road, so you can imagine riding past. And if a leopard is down underneath this hidden spot, and this is where Karula was with her impala kill yesterday, you can just imagine how impossible they can be to find. How on earth does one go about seeing a leopard if you are... And I mean, this is such a perfect hiding place for a leopard. You can look at it. It's got all of these beautiful sheltered spots. She could lie here and watch what's going on around her. Nothing could creep up on her. This is where she had... Am I going to hit my head? No. This is where she had her impala kill. And all that is left is a few scraps of bones. And that's it. The grass is a bit flattened in there. That's where the cubs were probably feeding. So you can see that there's a little bit of flattened grass around there. And then there's a couple of shards of bone. And that is all that is left of that baby impala. So at least you know that absolutely nothing went to waste. And this isn't hyenas. This isn't the work of the hyenas. This is the leopards. Because with baby impala, their teeth are strong enough to actually crunch through most of the parts of the bone. And that is why Karula is so focused on catching baby impala. First of all, they're easier to catch. They're slower. They're not as quick. But at the same time, bone marrow. She can actually get into the bone marrow itself, and she can get out the nutrients that are in there. And that bone marrow is so fatty and healthy, and of course is where all of the blood cells, the white blood cells, the red blood cells are formed. So this is probably the leg bone of the impala, because that's where the marrow sits. It's in the long bones of the animal. And that's all that remains of that baby impala. And it's actually, I find that sort of thought quite comforting, in that nothing, absolutely nothing goes to waste. And at this time of year, although lots of baby impala do get killed, they get utilized in a way that really helps to increase the health of the predators that eat them. I don't know where the rest of the impala herd is. They were around here earlier, but I think they've dashed off at the sight of me pretending to be a leopard, ducking down into the hidden bushes. But this is a really, really good spot. You can just smell a little bit, doesn't smell terrible. You can smell a little bit of the scent of the dead impala, slight rotting meat smell, but it's not too bad at all. And that's that. That is all that remains. It does give you a really nice demonstration as to just how tricky it would be to find it and how easily you drive past them. And it makes one wonder, as I've often wondered before, how many times I've driven past a leopard. I don't even want to know how many times, because if Karula doesn't want to be seen, she won't be. So, I mean, spotting spotted cats is one thing. There's something that is much easier to spot and very large. Let's go and see what Brent has found.
Okay, well, it wasn't the buffalo we were looking at. It was the yellow-billed oxpecker. There's another one for the bird list. And it's going to be a short one this month till the 1st, so the competition is on. Look at that beautiful yellow-billed oxpecker. They became very threatened for a while due to dipping of cattle and other insecticides. There's still one more buffalo bull lying there. You can just, or two more actually. I think there's another one, and just see his horn sticking out to the left of this guy. But nice to have some of the buffalo bulls back, and of course doing what they do best at this time of the year is stewing in a pan. Oh, one standing up. Now, this is the area where that Birmingham boy is supposed to be heading towards, but it sounds like he's decided to have a nap en route, so he hasn't quite got here yet. It could be a little bit interesting here later on the safari, because the Birmingham boy might stumble right into these buffalo bulls, and as we have seen, a single male lion is quite capable of taking down a buffalo all by himself. And it's amazing how quickly these buffalo have picked up condition. These are the strongest of the strong, these bulls, ones that have survived the drought, and they're looking in fine fettle for old gentlemen who have retired from the hustle and bustle of the breeding herds. Well, there we go. There, those yellow-billed oxpeckers. Or is it a red? But no, it is the yellow-billed on top of the buffalo's boss. Now, these are proper hard-bossed bulls. So young bulls will have what we call soft bosses. So there'll still be hair growing, and it normally takes about 6 to 7 years to become a properly hard-bossed buffalo bull. That looks like a buffalo cow there as well. I've actually seen this herd. I saw this little group last week. And I'm pretty sure that single buffalo that the Birminghams caught last week was also, or 2 weeks ago now, was from this little group. I think there's that female. You can just see her head above the grass there. And I think she got separated from her herd during the hunt, and she's decided it's safer to stick around with the buffalo bulls than it is to go it alone. Now, Zoe is wondering, how tall is that buffalo? Well, they are very big animals. They can weigh up to about 2,000 pounds. I don't see any particularly big ones here. I'd say probably 1,400, 1,500 pounds in weight. And in height, let me just think, I'm 6'3", so the door here is probably, I don't know, 5'2", maybe 5'2" at the shoulder. So, really big animals. I mean, they are loving this lush green summer vegetation. And he's got the yellow-billed oxpecker on his schnoz. Well, was on his schnoz, just ducked off behind. Now, the reason they've probably stood up is because of terrapins, those lovely aquatic little reptiles. They'll often feed off ticks that are attached to buffalo while they wallow in the mud. And the mud also helps to relieve the irritation from biting flies. And the mud will often encase ticks and other parasites that are living on the buffalo's skin. And when that mud dries, and they'll rub it off on a branch, and that will cause the ticks to fall off. Now, of course, around a little water hole like this, and of course we're obviously still looking at that wonderful yellow-billed oxpecker, as he's definitely the best bird in this vicinity at the moment, and one of the more rare birds. Now, there, of course, is, just so we get some of the common ones out of the way, Jandre, on that beautiful leadwood to the left. Here we go. If we go up on the bottom branch there, so a little bit to the left, center frame. Here we go, just to make sure we get some of the more common ones out of the way and not let Tristan think he's getting too far ahead of us. It's our second bird, and here he goes. It's a woodlands kingfisher. Well, it's two of them actually, chasing each other about. Buffalo have settled back down to stew in the mud. Now, Grant is wondering, aren't buffalo supposed to be very dangerous? Are they just not dangerous because in this reserve they're not hunted or have any problems? No, Grant, they're still very, very dangerous, but they're dangerous when you're on foot. Now, man is the apex diurnal predator, so they see man as a threat, and if you stumble upon them at close range, they'll often charge you or look down their nose at you in a very bad way. But generally from a vehicle, it is completely safe to view them. There's very, very few incidences of buffaloes attacking cars. It's also really big. No one wants to bash their head against something this big, but it is always possible. So we are always conscious of the different animals' body language and behavior What set that Franklin off? I think each other. Okay, well, I think it's time to move along from our soupy waterhole and see if we can get another update on those male lions. So we're going to head off, and while we do that, let's go back to Tristan with that incredible slinky cat.
I have to agree, Brent. They are incredible slinky cats. They're absolutely beautiful. We just repositioned slightly and came around and just so we could get a better view of the face. And isn't that the face of absolute happiness and contentment? It's just kind of sitting there very, 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 very content with life. And wouldn't you be if you had a belly like that? Absolutely full. It's not too hot today. There's a nice cloud cover. Absolutely perfect if you've had a good meal. Now, here Brent is already shouting about birds and that he can't let me have the lead. Well, Brent, unfortunately, we will go into the lead because over on that tree there, as you can see, which VM is honed in on so quickly, is a beautiful European roller. So these guys are pretty much everywhere at the moment. But as the name suggests, they migrate to South Africa for the summer months to coincide with the amount of insects that are going to be hatching with the rains. And so they make their way here and arrive normally around November, December, and then they will start leaving probably in February. But they really like these open clearings as well, so anywhere where they can perch like that, and then from there they can hawk any insect or grasshopper that comes off the grass. So it's really a great place for them to be. So we do have another vehicle that's joining us, one of the commercial lodges, and like I say, they were the ones that gave us a hint that these guys were around this morning. So we do have to work quite closely with them, and they really do help us out quite a bit at times. So just let them know just now, and they've come in and joined us here. And I must admit, if you are on safari, it would be a great animal to see, especially here in the Sabi Sands. And just look at that beautiful face. And really the best thing about cheetah for me is their eyes. The color of their eyes is absolutely incredible. It's this deep amber color. Unfortunately, we don't have too much sunlight today, but when the sun is shining, it is absolutely beautiful. It just lights up those eyes, and they kind of really are rich and dark in coloration. Absolutely beautiful. Now you'll also notice from that face where there's a very, very clear black line that is coming past the nose there and down towards the mouth. It almost looks like it's cried a sort of a big thing of ink that's run down the face. So those little tear stripes are all there because this animal generally is more active during the day. So these guys, unlike the lions and leopards that are spending more time out at night and hunting in darker conditions, these guys tend to spend more time out during the day. And so those black lines there just help to really reduce the amount of glare that comes off the sun and off the grass and trees that are reflecting the sun's rays, and they enable this cheetah to really be able to see very, very well and to be able to hunt a lot more effectively during the day. So Michael and James have just let us know that this is indeed one of the brothers. So thank you very much for that, Michael and James. Really appreciate you guys coming back and helping us out. It's sometimes a little bit difficult to recognize these guys without having a look at another photo and making sure. But they were pointing out that this male has a Y on his left side of his face, you can see there now that VM's gone in, and so that's how we identify him. And the other one has got a cataract in his eye, which I do know about, and that's why I was a little bit confused with this guy, because I didn't see the cataract, so I wasn't 100% sure if it was him. But it makes me wonder then where the other one is. Maybe after a meal like they've had today, it could very well be somewhere on those open clearings under a shady tree, or it's made its way for water. There is 2 pans that are around here, and it's very possible that he's gone for a drink, and that's why he's not with his brother at this stage. but you can see that that tail is still working, still busy chasing flies away. And you can see, look how flat that end is. So that tail is really vitally important and is very, very different to what you would see on lions and leopards. They tend to have very rounded, sort of tube-like tails. And these guys, the reason why it's slightly more flattened is not for fly swatting, but it is all to do with balance. You can imagine when you are running at 100 to 120 kilometers an hour, you need to be able to turn on a dime to be chasing these antelope species. And so that long tail with that flattened end just helps to counterbalance whichever way the cheetah is running and just keeps them really right on target all the time. So it's really a nice, unique little feature that the cheetah has, very different to what, like I say, what lion and leopard have. And it enables them to really be quite agile when they're chasing. And being very cooperative in keeping it still for us as well. Sometimes they bounce the tail around all over, which makes the cameraman's life very difficult. Now, Oscar wants to know what the difference is between cheetah and leopard, or what the major difference is between cheetah and leopard. Well, VM is showing you very clearly there, the spots of this cheetah are solid. They have not broken apart in any way, whereas the leopard, like what you would have seen on Hosana earlier, has got almost looks like those spots have broken apart and formed what we call rosettes. Also with the cheetah on the face, like VM is showing you there, he's got these little black lines that come down on the face, whereas a leopard will have white markings underneath the eyes. The head of a cheetah is very, very small and rounded, whereas a leopard has a very big, robust head with ears that sit a little bit further up on the head. And then this animal is a lot more slender with very, very long legs. And then you'll see there on the feet that the claws are sticking out and are almost blunted. So because these guys move at very, very high speeds, they can't afford for their claws to be out. To be in all the time like a leopard or a lion. They need those claws out to be almost like track spikes that give them traction when they're running. And cheetah's claw is always out, where a lion and leopard's always in. Alright, and those are the kind of major differences between the two. With that, you shouldn't get confused too much between them. Now, I'm pretty sure that this male, as soon as we start to kind of get into later hours of the day, will get up and start looking for water. Generally, when they're very full-bellied like that, they do try and find water just to replace all the water that they've lost through panting. And if you actually look on his chin there, you can see there's no sign that he's actually drunk. Had he been drinking, you would have found the fur on that chin area would have been very matted, and it would appear a lot darker than what it does now. You can see it's all quite uniform. And so I would imagine that this guy will go for a little drink a little bit later, but he's just waiting for everything to cool down a little bit before he starts going right out into the open. Alright, so we're just going to stay with them for a little bit longer and see, and like I say, I'm going to try to see if I can find the other one. So far, no sign, but while we're looking around and seeing what we can find, we're going to go back to Jamie, who I believe is in some rather large company.
A very, very large company indeed, and somewhat surprising company, because this is the same elephant that we started off with on the other side of quarantine clearings, which is this big open area that we're on now. And he's done a full circuit this afternoon, all the way around us while we were playing around I was playing around pretending to be a leopard. He slipped around us and has popped out on the southern side of our open area. And I think he does this route pretty much every day. What I was going to talk to you about before our Ellie sort of popped out and made himself more visible was the thumping sounds that are coming from quarantine clearings at the moment, and a very good lesson not to go and lie underneath a marula tree during summer, because all I can hear is things going doof, thud there. It's this tree in particular, the one behind me. And that, of course, is what's brought our elephant in his circuit around here, is the falling of ripe marulas. Now, you've seen the way that elephants will actually sort of encourage the marulas to fall by putting their heads or the bottom of their jaws up against a tree and giving it a jolly good shake. Now, obviously, the idea of me shaking this particular marula tree is relatively ridiculous. It's definitely not going to happen. But Craig and I have both narrowly escaped being thumped on the head by marula fruits. And they're not that heavy, but that would be sore if that were to land on your head, particularly if you weren't expecting it. So just remember, at this time of year, marula trees are not to be trifled with. I wouldn't advise sleeping under one, partly because the elephants are going to come and try and eat the fruit, and secondly because you're going to get knocked on the head. I'm looking for keeping an eye on him, because I'm sure he wants to come and eat these fruits as well. I'm looking for a nice ripe marula fruit. I'm quite picky with my marula fruits. I like the intact, not so damaged ones. That one looks a little bit, there we go. Those look like they might be suitable. Idiot. So the trick with eating marula fruits, I'm sure you've seen plenty of this. Sorry, I was being a bit harsh on myself, but I mean, how clumsy was that? Give it a jolly good, my favourite way of eating marula fruits is actually to give it a jolly good squeeze, get all of the juice and the fleshy pulp, so you sort of loosen everything, because the fruit can be quite tough and quite stringy. And then you just bite the corner. Oh, that one wasn't quite ripe. Wow. That was really sour. That one wasn't quite ready. It's delicious, actually. And then you suck out the very, very tart juice. They are delicious. It's my favourite fruiting time of year. It's my favourite fruit to eat out here. And you can do all sorts of things with this. For human beings, of course, it is very, very high in vitamin C, which means it's very healthy to eat. That's what the fruit looks like. I'm sure many of you have seen this, but that's what the fruit looks like. And there you go. Seb, absolutely. Seb, that is why the elephants go for the marula fruits. Same as human beings. Very high in vitamin C. And very good for them. So yes, there is an absolute nutritional benefit. It's fruit, so it's sugary. So you've got there's juice running down my finger. You've got the added benefit of the sugar in their diet, which tastes nice, so they like it. But mainly it is a very, very nice nutritional boost for them, and for all animals. It's not just elephants. Baboons, impala will come and eat it. The squirrels will come and eat it. What fascinates me about the way in which elephants approach marula fruit eating is that they barely seem to chew them. And which is why we find, and we should look around for some, big piles of elephant dung at the moment with marula fruits that look basically untouched. It's basically like they've taken a marula fruit, swallowed it whole, and it's made its way through the elephant's entire digestive system and popped out unchanged on the other end. So that's why they go after it. There's a rumor. I'm just waiting. I'm staying here because I want to see whether or not this Ellie might decide to come a little bit closer to us. Very chilled. He's not bothered at all by our presence. He does know we're here because he chose to come round to see us. So he's not bothered by us at all. There is a story that elephants in must, or at least I don't know if it was an oddly phrased scientific paper that was written a while ago, about the idea that elephants in must will target marula fruits more than others. I find that very hard to buy, because I think any elephant is going to target marula fruits, particularly the bulls at the moment. They're moving about Djuma a lot, and any elephant is going to come and target marula fruits because they taste good, they're sugary, and they're yummy. For humans, they can be used to make something known as beer, marula beer, and it is very, very dangerous beer. It's very, very potent beer. And it's made apparently by taking lots and lots of marulas and just leaving them to ferment in a bucket of water. And of course, the famous marula liqueur. Look, he's coming slowly but surely. Good boy. While I wait patiently for our elephant to get closer, I hear that those cheetah brothers have been separated. Actually, I heard that they were separated a while ago. And let's go and see whether they've had any luck in reuniting.
Unfortunately not, Jamie. We haven't had any luck in finding the other one. I have been scanning around with my binoculars and so far no sign of the other one. I know that this morning both of them were seen together, so I'm pretty sure the other one is around here somewhere. Like I was saying earlier, with a full belly, it's possible the other one's maybe still lying somewhere wherever the carcass is. You know, we've had a bit of rain now and the grass is starting to get quite long, so these cheetah can absolutely disappear. I mean, this one is luckily lying right out in the open, but you know, when they're in the grassy areas and they just lie down flat, it can be really tough to see them, particularly if they have their back to you and the white of the tummy is not showing. So far no sign. We will keep looking around. What we did spot was a couple buffalo off in the distance, so we're probably going to go and have a little look at those guys fairly shortly, because this cheetah is very, very, very stationary at this stage. Absolutely no movement from him. He did perk up a little bit earlier, kind of watching to the west, but nothing really appeared. I was hoping it would be the brother coming from the west, but nothing arrived. JC's asking if there are only male cheetahs in this area. Well, JC, there are female cheetahs. Just these two males that we tend to see regularly have set up a territory in this area, and just prior to them arriving, or when they did arrive for the first time, there was a female cheetah here with her female cub for a while. And they spent a lot of time in this area, and then unfortunately I'm not sure what happened to them. The female distributed off, and then the last time I saw the actual female herself, she was being chased by two wild dogs across an open area, and she ended up disappearing after that. So I'm actually not sure where she went. The wild dogs didn't catch her. She managed to get away, but she did get chased. And then after that, I think there was, you know, with the Majingalans arriving at that time as well, there was these 4 big male lions, and so I think she pushed further into Kruger, and I haven't seen her since. There are a couple females around. I know in the central parts of the Sabi Sands they see a female there, and there was a female that we saw about a year ago in this area as well. So they are around, but really not at all territorial in this area. So one of the other vehicles is just going to quickly just bypass. And see, he kind of woke up a little bit, and like I was saying, keeps looking to the west and keeps staring in that direction. Now there could be a multitude of different things. There could be, you know, some impalas that are making a noise there. There could, like I say, be his brother. So just see when this vehicle leaves. If he starts to fall asleep again after this vehicle, then we'll know it was just the vehicle that woke him up. But otherwise, we'll just sit a little bit longer and just see maybe the other male arrives. You can see having a nice little scan around, and look at those teeth, absolutely perfectly designed for shearing off bits of meat. You can actually see that triangular shape. The ones just past the canines, oh, it's just moved a little bit, but you can see the canines there, which are utilized for basically grabbing hold of the throat of an animal and helping to suffocate. A little bit of rubbing. So when you've got an itch on your ear, sandy road is the perfect place. It's nice and coarse, and so it just helps really just to ease the itch. It's like someone getting a really nice bit of sandpaper and kind of gently massaging that area. So perfect for a cheetah to try and ease whatever was itching on that ear. Well, this is quite an interesting question. So Morgan wants to know, within the animal kingdom, is there a difference between the ratio of male and female offspring? Well, no, not really. So there is pretty much, you know, it can be a 50-50 chance as to whether male and female will be born. But what does happen is that often with male offspring is that they tend to be killed when they are trying to find territories, particularly in the cats. So you find that a lot of the males will be depleted in that area, whereas females, they tend to survive a little bit easier in the predators. Once they've gotten to the age that they're able to breed, then you find that the males won't kill them. They won't see them as competition or to try and get the female back into heat, and so they'll leave that young female and know that she's then potential mating rights for later. But the males tend to be quite aggressive with one another, and so a lot of young males get killed. In terms of things like antelopes, what you'll find is that when antelopes are born, often the young ones are preyed on by predators, and so at that time it will be both male and female that will get equally preyed upon. It doesn't matter, the predator is not selective at that time. But once they start getting older and more mature, you'll find that the predators will target the males during the mating seasons. So when those antelopes are rutting and they're really not concentrating on what's going on, they're so preoccupied with fighting one another that they don't actually pay attention, then you'll find the predators will target males more than anything else. And so your males will then be capped slightly. And then as the year goes on and those females that have now been mated with start to become pregnant, they start to become big and slow. All right, and so the predators then start targeting the females. And so you end up with a situation where it's really kind of even numbers are being killed throughout, and so your balance of male and female amongst prey items is pretty equalized. It's not too different. So you typically shouldn't end up with a situation where you have too many males or too many females. It should balance itself out, and in big ecosystems like the Kruger National Park, it generally does. If you're in smaller game reserves where it's fenced off and the animals really can't move around too much, then you'll find a situation where you might have an imbalance due to an overpopulation of a certain species. But absolutely exhausted. It's hard work to digest. I'm sure most of you have had a meal at some point where you've overeaten completely, and it really is exactly like this cheetah. You feel like just flopping down with your belly exposed or your tummy exposed and just kind of taking it very, very easy and just hoping that that food goes down as quick as possible, because it's an uncomfortable feeling. But like I say, I think we're going to carry on for a bit. We're going to go and see what these buffalo are up to. They just look like they're starting to stand up. So we'll try and kind of edge towards them for a bit. And we'll keep an eye on the cheetah while we're with the buffalo. It's really not too far away. And if they do start getting mobile, then we'll definitely return to this area and see what they're up to. But that is such a stroke of luck. Like I say, it's a very aptly named area, and in my time in this area I've been very fortunate in that most times I come to this open area I tend to find them, which is really quite cool, because like I say, they're really not an easy animal to find at all, and so finding them on this open area is always feels like a success. Like I say, not easy animals to find. I just want to check, there's a little puddle up here on our right hand side. I just want to have a little look if they maybe haven't drank here or if the other one has been here. It doesn't look like there's any. No signs at all. So Viem's actually spotted a bunch of tadpoles in the water, and I've also spotted another bird for our little bird challenge. So I think we'll go to the bird first, because the tadpoles really are not going to go anywhere. So right down low there is a lesser grey shrike. Now these guys are not actually that common where we are, because they tend to like more open sections, but I suppose on Cheetah Plains that is a perfect place to look for them. And that is, I'm really quite happy to see that. Brent and I were actually talking about this bird this afternoon. We were talking about how it occurs a little bit further north of us and in those big open sections, and so that's really a nice bird to see. It's absolutely beautiful. So you can see where it gets the grey part of its name, with that grey back and head. and then it's got that beautiful black eye stripe and that white chest. And typical of the shrike family, that big broad beak with a very recurved end to it. So it shows you that that is a predatory bird. It will be hunting mostly insects, butterflies, and even small little invertebrates. So they have quite a varied diet, but like I say, mostly meat. But very, very nice. Quite chuffed with that. So I'm just trying to back up a little bit to see where VM got these tadpoles. Seems that VM's got eagle eyes today. Oh, there they are. That's very, very cool. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to pull a little bit to the side to get the grass out the way. But there we go. Should be able to zoom in there. And there you can see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tadpoles that are all coming up to the surface to breathe. And look at that. It's just like an absolute melee of frenzied activity. It almost looks like, I don't know if any of you have ever seen when things like tuna push little sardines up to the surface and they then chase them, and it's like a fish frenzy, and there's this big ball of fish that are being chased around, and that's what it looks like. They do move around quite a bit, so it's quite tough to actually keep them on camera. There they go. They're busy migrating across the pond. Long swim for them. But you'll find that these guys will all really stay tightly clumped together so as to avoid predation. Now, to say what species this is very, very difficult. When they're still tadpoles like this, without actually getting one out and getting it under the microscope, it's going to be very tough to ID. But the habit of them really sticking very closely together like this, there are certain species that are not as cohesive and will kind of spread quite a bit, but these guys are really sticking very, very close together. Absolutely beautiful. So it just goes to show you, sometimes you can be sitting looking at big things and there's so much that's actually around, and actually if you just stop and look in these little wallows and in nooks and crannies under trees, there's so much that can be seen and can be looked at. So really, really cool. Well spotted, VM. Very, very good. And now I believe Susie also said that this is one of her best cheetah sightings that we've had, or best cheetah sighting that we've had in a while as Safari Live, and I can't agree more. It's a beautiful, beautiful sighting, nice and close and very relaxed. They normally, like I was saying earlier, tend to move quite a bit. They tend to cross over this open area and they go, and so, you know, sometimes sightings of them are short and brief and we don't really get too much from them. But today he's full-bellied and very, very relaxed, so it allowed us a really good sighting of that, which is absolutely great. Alright guys, so we're going to kind of make our way slowly to these buffalo, like I was saying, and while we do that, we're going to go back to Jamie and see what she has for us.
Tristan is absolutely right in that the longer you sit and just spend time in one spot, the more amazing tiny things that you see. I didn't want to show you a tiny thing though, I wanted to show you a big thing. But our elephant seems to have some kind of instinct that when Rebecca wants to come to us, he disappears behind a bush. And he seems to have done exactly the same things now. And we've just been enjoying the evening on the great open area of quarantine clearings, looking at the various grasshoppers, the various butterflies. And, sorry, I thought I saw something, but it went away. And, of course, our elephant friend, who we've basically spent the entire afternoon somewhat in each other's company. Not quite. We've both got a really, really comfortable distance from each other, so we don't have to worry too much about where each other, you know, what we're doing and what's going on. Well, where's he gone? I promise you, it's surprisingly difficult to keep track of a very large creature. He went running down towards Inger's. And I think it was just because he wasn't running, it was just because it was a slope that he was on. But he was so perfectly out in the open a moment ago, and now he's completely vanished. And I don't want to go and restrict him. I want to try and see if there's any kind of a pattern to the way that he's... Oh, there he... Do I see him there? There he is. He's going to pop out. He's going to breach Inger's fence line. Please don't go into Inger's. There's no marulas there. Where is he? He's behind that massive, massive marula tree. The one that we had that incredible shot with that massive elephant bull once. He's there. He's already made it all the way there. I wonder if he's not going to go and have a drink. Might be quite nice to go and keep up with him. The wind is perfect for us now. So before, we were directly, our scent was blowing straight at him. I mean, it really was literally going straight towards him. But now the wind's blowing his scent towards us. Are you trying to creep up somewhere, mister? No. Oh, it seems as though we're all enjoying the company of giants this afternoon. Let's go and have a look and see which elephant Brent has found.
This is a true giant, an elephant bull in his prime. He is absolutely massive. And look at him. He's probably about 40 years old. He smells like he's in must, so he's in a heightened, yes, he is in must, and a heightened sexual hormonal state, and he's on the search for females. But he has got his askaris. Now, askari is the old East African word for guard, and we don't get to see this too often in this area. Hey, don't get cheeky behind me. And here is one of his askaris, young bulls that follow around the big boys. Oh, you didn't think I heard you coming? Naughty. Oh, I do love spending time with elephants. They do give me such joy. So there's actually a group of about 8 elephant bulls here. Now, this is not something we get to see very often, as I said, in this particular area. In other parts of the Greater Kruger, seeing big groups of bulls together are quite common. Here we tend to see more singular groups of bulls, but this is really special, and some of the best times of my life with elephants has been spent in the company of big elephant bull herds. The biggest herd I think I've been with is about 15 or 16 on foot, and I sat there and they passed a couple of feet from me. And he is absolutely gorgeous, this big boy. You can see how much bigger he is than his askaris, than his guards. So the youngsters learning from the old man. Now, if you want to know anything about these incredible Ellies, just send me a question using the hashtag #SafariLive. Look, there we go. You can see the liquid dripping from his penile sheath because he's in must, and they can lose up to 100 liters of water in a day, so they do tend to drink more when they're in must. And at this time of the year you find these massive bulls in must because of the marula fruit availability, and it depends on where you are in Africa. You can see there's another safari vehicle from Chitwa. It depends where you are in Africa, that the must cycles are not always at the same time. He is a gentle giant, though. He hasn't given us one sort of sign of any form of aggression. And I'm so happy we caught up with them. We spotted them at a long distance while we were at the Chitwa Dam, and they were moving away from the dam. Okay, this is just too precious. Oh, while we try to keep up with these incredible elephants, let's go back to Tristan with that cheetah who's on the move.
No. I think we're going to miss this thing. So there we go. We have this male cheetah is up and mobile. He's going southwards. You can see he's just having a little look at the Egyptian geese that are making a racket here. As he's walked through, the Egyptian geese are not very impressed at all. So making quite a racket, and we flop back down again. So not too much movement, but a little bit of rolling around as well. So let's see how we go. I think he, like I say, is just waiting for it to get a little bit cooler before deciding to get up and go. Now, the pan that I was talking about is just on the southern side of this open area. It's right at the back end. If VM goes out there, you'll see just in the far left-hand corner is where that pan is. And so they like to spend a bit of time going that way to go and drink. Still no sign of the other one. This male keeps looking over its shoulder and looking around. Now, Rob would like to know, why are cheetahs not named, but lions and leopards are? Well, Rob, in all likelihood, it's because these cheetahs just really don't spend enough time here. All right, so they're seen so little, that's why that we are, we don't really see them enough to give them a sort of name. We just recognize some of them, and so that's why. The leopards and the lions are far more territorial and really localized into our area, that we see them really regularly, and so it just helps to be able to follow what goes on. Also, a lot of these cheetah are born in areas that we don't know about, so we don't see them as little cubs, and so they don't get a name when they're little cubs, and they then come in from the Kruger areas, and so by the time they actually get here, they're adults and they're kind of passing in and out, and so that's why they don't really have names. I suppose we could give them names, but they're seen so infrequently that we tend not to. But you can see this cheetah is wide awake. Even though it's laid down again, its head is very up, it's very alert, far more alert than when we saw it earlier. You can see the whole chest area is up, and it's really looking around everywhere. I wonder if maybe they didn't get separated somehow. Sometimes you'll find when you have situations when they're on a carcass, that something like a hyena or a leopard can come in, and it can cause this animal to be able to, or get split apart, and then you find that they two run in different directions, and it takes a while for them to find each other. So could be why he's looking around. You can see he keeps looking back this side, and like I say, that's the direction that they came from. So I wonder if the other one isn't hopefully going to come from that direction too. Now, this cheetah getting up and moving was a bit of a distraction, because I was actually looking in a dead tree, and I was trying to see, there was a falcon sitting on the tree, and I'm almost 80% sure that it was a peregrine falcon, because I know Brent actually saw a peregrine falcon down this area the other day, and so that would be a really good one to add to our bird list, and one I don't think that would be repeated very easily. So I was trying to see, but it was just a little bit too far off, and then when this cheetah got mobile, we decided just to come back and see what it would get up to. You can see still lots of rolling around, and again it's the same reason. Rolling on that sand will just ease itches, as well as get rid of any ticks that might be on the ears. So Djuma would like to know if these cheetah are the only big cats that like to purr. Well, Djuma, yes, that is true. They are in a different class to lion and leopards, because the lion and the leopards roar. All right, they do not purr. So cheetahs are able to purr. So they are the only one of the really big guys that we see here. The only other big cats in the world would be jaguars and tigers, and they also, much like the lion and leopard, are able to roar. So the cheetah is the only one that purrs. But isn't that a spectacular view? And you can actually see how well camouflaged that cheetah is. As we pan backwards like this, you can see it is very difficult to see that cheetah in the grass. Now you can imagine, as I was saying earlier, if they lie down absolutely flat, so they don't put their head up, you would be easily fooled in driving past and not actually seeing this cat. So they are perfectly suited to the environment, especially now when it does that. Very, very difficult. Luckily we have incredible technology these days that we can go from wide and to right in tight like that with the cheetah and really get an appreciation of the sense of space that we're in, one, and the beauty of the environment that we're in, as well as be able to actually see that cheetah in that really long grass. So quite a beautiful setting. Alright, so while I try and see if I can get a better visual on that falcon, we're going to go back to Brent, who's got some big, large friends approaching him.
Look at him. He's chasing the little one. He's teaching him who's boss. Now, as you can see, he is on 5 legs. Now, that wasn't a very... Oh, he's off to the next one. It wasn't very aggressive. He's just reminding the youngsters that he is definitely top of the food chain in their group. He is, by all means, the big boss. Now, let's try and get a little bit closer to the big boss, who stopped for a snack after seeing off the uppity youngsters. Now, don't get any ideas with me, mister. You won't find me as scared as the little ones. Now, what's quite interesting, there's a small herd of impala quite close by, and often when young elephant bulls have been chastised by a bigger elephant like that, they sometimes decide to take it out on any animal that might be close to them. And I was just watching, just to the left of those impalas, one of the bulls that just got chased. And it looks like he was sort of thinking about chasing him. Oh, there we go. Just stick on the impala. A little bit wider. You'll see him coming into frame almost now. There we go. A little bit wider, Genre. There he is. Maybe not going to chase the impala. Oh, he's just going to move him out of the way. No, not too interested in chasing, but sometimes after they have been chased by a big elephant, they do tend to chase the impala as well. Oh, now that is not someone we want on our car, Andre. There's a nasty horsefly, a very big one. He could bite very, very painfully. Oh. Not very nice looking creatures are horseflies. Yes, don't you think about biting me, mister. Oh, can you hear some more elephants screaming in the distance? Oh. Even if he is a cleanly horsefly. Now, there are certain horsefly species that are specifically designed to even pierce the skin of an elephant. Now, imagine how incredibly painful those are when they bite you. I don't think this is one of the... Off he goes. The elephant ones. But I don't want to find out. So let's speed along to keep up with those Ellies. So they're right on the boundary at the moment. And so far they're being really nice to us. They're not meandering to the north. Such a strong smell of must permeating the air. Here we go, big boy. Well, hello, Taylor, who's a South African environmental science student who's studying abroad in Belgium. Well, I hope you are getting a little bit of your homesickness taken away by Safari Live. Now, Taylor would like to know what are the main signs of an elephant bull in must. Well, of course, the most obvious is that secretion from the penile sheath, and it is a constant drip. As I can say, they use about 100 liters of water a day, and of course that sickly sweet smell. Now, Viam, one of our cameramen, says he knows what it smells like, and being South African, Taylor, that's probably the only reason why I'm going to tell you this, because if you weren't South African, you wouldn't have a clue what I'm saying. He says it smells like off Oros. Now, for those who don't know what Oros is probably a very bad for you fruit drink. Well, fruit's a strong word. It's basically sugar and syrup. I think. Okay, they are going north now, but it smells like Off Oros. I've never had the pleasure of smelling Off Oros myself, but Wim has. Now, he's just turning away now, but that smell just is so distinct, and of course that constant dripping from the penile sheath. Now, they will sometimes secrete from the preorbital glands, so those glands behind their eyes, but not always. Let me just move forward again. Now, let's see if we can get one last view of this wonderful group of elephant bulls as they disappear into the lovely greenery. Here goes the big boy. And all we're going to get is a view of his bottom. And on that note, let's go to Tristan, who seems to be creeping ahead in this bird challenge, but I'm not worried.
Indeed we are, Brent. We are making headway with the birds for sure. So on that fallen over tree, we've managed, well, a dead tree should I say, not a fallen over tree, sorry about that. You can see there is our little falcon perched on the edge of the tree. Now, it is very difficult against this gloomy grey sky to be able to get any sort of coloration, but thanks to the super zoom on the camera, we were able to see a little bit of yellow around the beak, and given that this bird is by itself, it points to only one thing, and that is a peregrine falcon. Now, that is the fastest flying bird here in South Africa. They are incredibly fast. They will be able to do upward of 180 kilometers, so they're very, very quick. And this is the bird that we're talking about right here. And as I was saying to you, you can see there's that yellow on the eye, and the yellow on the beak. And then it's got that little black around the eye area, followed by white on the chest. And so when this bird was not facing away from us like it is now, you could actually clearly see the white on the chest with the barring. And so I'm very, very, very happy with that. It's been a very long time since I've seen a peregrine falcon in this area. So that is really, really, really quite exceptional. I'm very, very, very happy, which is great. And a really good bird to add to our bird challenge. So there we go, Brent. Time for you to step up. Also, while we were sitting here, I'm sure you can hear in the background two birds chirping away, and so on top of the tree there is some Burchell starlings. So they are sitting talking, and you can see they're looking quite drab and dull for a starling today, because there's really little light, very little light to be able to spruce up that look and to be able to get that coloration out, and so they're quite drab and dull. The reason why we know this is a Burchell starling and not any of the other starlings is because this starling has a very dark face and a dark eye and a very long tail. And it is probably the most common starling that we get out of here. So that one will, even though nice to add to the list, will be something that I'm sure all the other guides will be able to pick up at some point. Alright, so finally, after all of that, we've decided to carry on from the cheetah. The cheetah went flat, there's really little visual, all you could see was a little ear poking out of the grass. Not interested in moving too much more, so we're going to just head up to these buffalo, finally. So a few of you would like to know if I've seen any signs of the ostriches on Cheetah Plains. Well, I haven't seen any sign of them here, but funnily enough, up near Buffelshoek Dam, I had tracks for an ostrich earlier today. We did try follow the tracks. The tracks went southwards, and then they cut off into Torchwood, so I couldn't follow any further. But yes, I did have tracks for an ostrich, which would have been really great to see, and another one that I think we could have stumped Brent with. But unfortunately, no sign of the ostriches on Cheetah Plains today. It would have been nice if they were here, because funny enough, cheetah really, really do like to hunt ostrich. So it would have been quite nice to have had an ostrich with a cheetah at the same time. Would have been quite interesting. We might have got some action there. So as you can see up in front of me here is a lonely wildebeest, all on his own. I know Brent's got a name for this wildebeest, but I can't remember the name. It doesn't come to hand right now. I think it's Norman, is that it, Graham? That's it. So this wildebeest apparently spends quite a bit of time here on this open section and does quite a bit of feeding on his own, and Brent has taken a shine to him, which is nice for Brent. I'm glad Brent has found a friend somewhere in the world. It's few and far between for Brent these days. No, I'm just kidding. Brent is a very popular character, so I'm sure the wildebeest is just one of many. And there you can see the wildebeest slowly approaching from behind is some buffalo. So just a small little herd of buffalo. There's a couple females in there and some males. And these guys were fast asleep when we first arrived with the cheetah, but now as the sun is going down, they know it's now time to really feast on this beautiful lush green grass that's come up during the rains and get that stomach nice and full before it gets very, very dark. And the things like lions start getting out and up and mobile, and then it becomes a lot more dangerous for the buffalo to be head down feeding on that grass. When they are feeding like this, obviously you can imagine the head is in the grass, so they can't see too much, and because of them chomping away, their hearing is compromised somewhat. Also the others are moving, and so the sounds of them moving will overpower the sound of possibly a predator moving around in the area. So they feed nicely now, and then this evening they'll find an area much like this that's very open, that they're able to then lie down, and then they'll sit and regurgitate that food, so they can lie down with their head up and be able to see what's going on around them, and they will then be able to chew the cud and gain the nutrients from all the grass that they're feeding on now. So very, very clever system, and that's why both the wildebeest and the buffalo are busy doing it. And if I'm honest, if I was either one of those two, this is where I would be. Beautiful big open section, lush green. It's the perfect place if you are a prey animal to spend time. You'll be able to see predators coming, and the grass looks really tasty even for us as humans. It's like I say, very lush and green and beautiful. So I think if I was a buffalo or a wildebeest, this is where I would be. Like I say, it's also got quite a spectacular view of what will be quite a beautiful sunset. You can see the sun is still quite high there. It's slowly coming down and a few colors are starting to come out. But can you imagine sitting here with your grass in your mouth? It's like having a cup of peanuts or one of your favorite snacks and watching that sun go down. So for me, the cheetah, the wildebeest and the buffalo have really got it right today. They've found the best place. So this says that this is really, really cool to see the buffalo and the wildebeest hanging out together, and I couldn't agree more. You know, we don't see them that often together, like you say. They tend to inhabit different areas, and there also is very few open sections like this where we can get the visual of both of them. So it's really, really nice to actually see the two of them together, and you can see the major differences between them. You can see how the buffalo, as we see there, are very big and bulky with massive widespread horns, whereas the wildebeest in front here, who is a little bit more slender with longer front legs and it's sloped back, much longer tail, and much less smaller developed horns on the front of the head. So quite nice to see, because often everybody will ask us what is the difference between buffalo and wildebeest, and often we get guests that come into these areas and they always look at a wildebeest and think that it's a buffalo, or think that a buffalo is a wildebeest, and so having the two together has been really nice for a comparison. Like I say, they are quite different animals when you actually see them side by side. But you can see those buffalo every now and then just popping their heads up. The one on the left is busy kind of head up, sniffing. So I wonder if the scent of that cheetah is kind of drifting across this open area. There's a slight breeze that is drifting, so maybe they've picked up the scent of that cheetah. So Daniel would like to know if wildebeest are related to antelope. Yes, they are. All right. The wildebeest is related to antelope in that they are all hoofed animals. All right, so they are what's termed ungulates. So they are classed in the same kind of family, and so yes, they are related to antelope species. They do look completely different to things like impalas and the likes, but they are indeed related. Unfortunately for the wildebeest in this area, we don't have the best of habitat. You know, we tend to have areas that are a little bit too dense and a little bit thick for them, and so they tend to get themselves into trouble with predators and coming across things like lion and leopard and hyenas in these thicker, dense areas. And so there really isn't a place for them to survive in huge numbers, not like you see in East Africa. So unfortunately for them, they have a bit of a tough time out here, and so it's quite common to find these males all on their own like this, and you'll often find them actually joining up with other antelope species. So things like impalas, you see them with zebras, you see them with giraffe, buffalo even, and they utilize those guys as a kind of early warning system, so those will often pick up a sign of a predator before them, and as a safety in terms of numbers. All right, so the more numbers there is, the less likely that you're going to be that one that is preyed upon. So clever from the wildebeest, and that's why we often see one on their own in open sections like this, in the hope that other antelope will come and they can then join up with that. All right, but we're going to carry on and leave this bunch together. It's an absolute beautiful setting here. Like I say, it's very, very pretty. Now, since we're on the topic of birds, and being that we have this birding competition, Christine would like to know what is the name of the birds that rides on the buffalo? Well, Brent had one earlier, which is actually not the most common one we see here, but they are called oxpeckers. Alright, so you get two different species here. You get a red-billed and a yellow-billed oxpecker. Now, Brent had the yellow-billed oxpecker earlier, and like I was saying to you, yellow-billed oxpeckers are actually not that common here. We tend to find them a lot more in the northern parts of Kruger. They spend a lot of time up there on those animals, but down here not too many. So I'm just going to get to my book and show you the difference between the two. Just give me 2 seconds. Sometimes my memory fails me and I forget the number of the page. It is quite a long book, so sometimes quite difficult. But if you have a look here at the bottom of the page, these are our two oxpeckers. So the one that Brent had earlier is this one, which you can see why it's called a yellow-billed. It's got the beautiful yellow beak with this little bit of red on the edge. And then the other one, which is the one we see most commonly, is this red-billed oxpecker. Alright, and the reason why we see them on the animals is all because they're just keeping the animal clean. These little birds are feeding off the parasites, mostly ticks and tick larvae that are on the buffalo, or wildebeest, or impalas, or zebras, whichever one. And so these little guys just help keep those animals clean. Now, interestingly enough, one of these little birds is able to eat close to 3,000 to 4,000 tick larvae a day, which is really quite insane when you think about it. Now, I know a tick larvae is tiny, but it's still that is a lot, and you can imagine how useful they are to the buffalo and the wildebeest to be able to sit on them and clean off all of those larvae. We were actually talking about it today in camp. The ticks have been particularly bad over the last few weeks, and so all of us that have been doing bushwalks have suffered the consequences. And those little ticks, even though they're very, very small, they are highly, highly irritating when they bite you. The itch is incredible. They form these little small welts that are really not very pleasant at all. So if you can get cleaned off by a bird and make sure that you don't have many of them, then that's a real bonus. So for the animals, it's a very, very good bird to have around with them. So you can actually see now, before we kind of leave the area, that the buffalo have all actually started to bed down. So they've found themselves a nice spot. They didn't move too far, but there we go. They've actually decided that's where we're going to stick, and this is our spot for the evening. So we're not going to disturb them too much. We're going to leave them to have a nice little nap this evening, and we're just going to slowly start heading back towards Djuma. We're going to try and see, like I said earlier, if there's any maybe sign of Inkanyeni or Tundi or any of the leopards that hang around in the east. They often like the Cheetah Plains area, so we're going to just slowly kind of putter along and see if we can see anything for them. And I can't tell you what a beautiful evening it is here. The wind has settled somewhat, and so it's a lot more pleasant than it was a little bit earlier. It's also, the clouds are starting to break a little bit. There's been a bit of sunshine, so it's been absolutely beautiful. You can see Viem's got a beautiful shot there of that sun setting, and with these cloudy kind of afternoons when you get a bit of a break, It's absolutely beautiful, particularly on big open sections like that. Alright, so while we carry on and slowly make our way back towards Djuma, we're going to go back to Brent and see what he's got for us.
Welcome back. Well, Jean-Andre and I were also just commenting on what a beautiful evening it is, and we're just slowly making our way back towards where young Hosana was, and I'm hoping that we might spot the queen herself. Maybe she's still around, maybe she's made her way back towards the cubs. The last tracks I had for her were in this area. Who knows, maybe I walked right past her and didn't even see her in the long grass. When I went for a walk before drive to see if I could find them, I walked through out here and then walked down the road here. Now Tristan says she was right here a couple of minutes ago in a tree, but I'm not seeing her. Are you, Jean-Andre? I see where Tristan turned off the road. Has Queen Karula already made a disappearing act before we could get here? Now, I wonder. So I'm assuming she must have been in one of these trees here. And just ask Taxi. Oh, the long grass. There's a leopard in it. So there's a very strong possibility if she was sleeping like that, that I walked within 20 meters of her and I would not have seen the Queen of Djuma. I was staring up into the trees, and there she's obviously come down onto the ground. Well, it's a spotty cat day today. Aren't we being spoilt? Leopards and cheetahs. And of course those wonderful big Ellie bulls. And all sorts of interesting little kohos and things with Jamie on quarantine, as well as elephants. Oh. Now, the reason you find leopards quite often at this time of the year, specifically sleeping up in the boughs of marula trees, is due to the fact that there are so many insects around. Now, as we get a little bit towards the end of the day, quite a few of the biting flies might have sort of moved off a little bit, but they're still there. You see constant flicking of their ears. So up in the trees there's a little bit more wind that gives them a little bit of respite from all the biting creatures. Hello, Gremlins General. Gremlins General would like to know, will we have a birthday party for the royal family? Well, I suppose, and specifically for Hosana and Shongile. I don't know, Jean-Andre, are we going to have a birthday party?
I like to party.
Jean-Andre likes to party. So, on that note, I think maybe we should. Or maybe we won't. I think we might. But, Karula is snoozing. So, Gremlins General, of course we're going to have a birthday. We're actually going to do a fireside chat celebrating their young lives. Now, remember, if you want to ask any questions, just like Gremlins General just did, use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. There's one very comfortable looking cat. Now, I'm in two minds. Should we go see if Hosana's up to shenanigans, or should we stick with the very flat leopard print blanket that is lying in the summer grass that is Karula? Why don't you guys decide for me? Should we stick with Karula, or should we carry on down the road a little bit and see if we can find Hosana? Remember, hashtag Safari Live or questions@wildearth.tv. Now, Megan is wondering what has happened to Shongile. I'm sure she's around. Jamie said she was down in a really thick ravine where we can't really get into with the vehicles a bit earlier today. So I'm sure, like Hosana, she's not too far from this area. Kruger's obviously taken some time to be away from the kids, and they are getting quite boisterous and they are getting quite big. So a rough and tumble with the kids is something she might avoid a little bit of from time to time. So Final Control thinks I should go look for some birds because Tristan is well in the lead, and I've got my reputation to worry about. Well, what do you see, Jean-Andre? Jean-Andre's seen a bird, but yes, well, I don't really have to worry about my reputation. I like a challenge, so, woodlands. We've seen that one already.
Something else.
There's something else Jean-Andre has spotted. But we like a bit of a challenge, so what we want is, I want Tristan to get comfortably ahead, that he's feeling cocky, and then I will just come out and sweep the rug from under his feet.
There's something up.
There is something up there. We will keep an eye on it. And I've got a nickname for Tristan. His name is Tristan. I saw a golden pipit once, Dix. So he'll know exactly what that means. He did see one. It's a very rare bird for the Sabi Sands, but I did have a lot of fun with him when he sent me the message saying, "I've seen a golden pipit, I've seen a golden pipit." And I just kept telling him it was a yellow-throated longclaw, and he was confused. Of course, it was a golden pipit. It's a very, very peaceful afternoon here on Djuma at the moment, and lovely sounds as the evening starts setting in. And Trevor is wondering, are there any crows in South Africa? Indeed there are, Trevor. I'll show you them shortly. There's a couple of species. I have seen crows in the Sabi Sands before. Jean-Andre is staring up into the tree. What have you got there, Jean-Andre? Ooh, it's just, I'm not sure if it's a starling, but it just caught a very big caterpillar. Let me move forward slightly. Not to disturb the queen, yes, you keep snoozing. Cheetah?
Fire tree, stop them.
Oh, there we go. Apparently it's flown. It is indeed it's not, there we go. It is one of the birds that really likes to feed off caterpillars. It is a cuckoo. I'm just trying to see which one. Look how it's beating that very big grub before eating it. Great spot by Jean-Andre there. Ah, it is a black cuckoo. And he's got himself a very big dinner. Now, don't worry, while you're watching that cuckoo devour that caterpillar, I'm going to find a picture of the crows. Yum, yum, yum if you're a cuckoo. Not so yum if you're one of us. So while we're watching that cuckoo, whoops, sorry, Jean-Andre, I'll take my foot off the brake. That cuckoo bash that caterpillar, and it might have some sharp spines or whatnot. We have found the crows. So the crow I have seen in the Sabi Sands before is the pride crow, and sometimes you do get them around carcasses, but they generally do love a good rubbish dump or two. Now we do also get white-necked raven, which is incredibly big, but they don't really occur in this part of the world. They're more up towards the high veld and along the coastal area. There we go, white-necked raven. They've got an incredibly massive beak that they use for tearing open carcasses. Now, we do have a few more crow species even. Can you believe? Oh, wrong way. Here we go. We have the Cape crow or black crow, and they unfortunately don't occur here. And we have a very bad crow, which is number 2. It's called the house crow or the Indian house crow, and it's been introduced along the east coast of Africa, and there's some really, really bad populations of them, specifically in East Africa, and the worst one that I've had to deal with is in Dar es Salaam. They've actually almost murdered all the indigenous bird species, and the government actually has an eradication program where kids will get money if they bring them crow's eggs or dead crows. They are truly, truly terrible, and they blacken the sky in their thousands in Dar es Salaam, in certain parts of Kenya as well, Mombasa, and they are a very big problem to the local bird species and cause absolute havoc. And I lived in Tanzania for quite a long time, and our base was in Dar es Salaam, our office, and to wake up in the morning and listen to the constantly was not very fun. Well, Karula seems to be flat as a pancake. Okay, well, while Karula's flat as a pancake, let's go see what Tristan's up to. And as you guys decided, it is your game drive after all, we're going to go look for Hosana.
So as you can see, we've got a very feisty drongo that is busy hounding a Wahlberg's eagle. It's giving it a very hard time. This poor Wahlberg's eagle was settling down for the night on a fallen, a tree, and this fork-tailed drongo came in and out of nowhere chased it. So I always love fork-tailed drongos. They're such feisty things. Liam and I were actually talking about it. We were watching one chasing a European roller just now, and then Liam was telling me a story about how he saw one pulling another one's tongue out. So they are quite feisty birds at the best of times, which is part of their charm and their character and what really kind of endears themselves to many. So I believe Brent has given me a nickname. Tristan, I saw a golden pipit once, Dix, which is fine, but I've got a nickname for Brent, which goes along the lines of, my name is Brent. I can't tell the difference between a long claw and a golden pipit, and that's why Tristan, who saw a golden pipit once, Dix, has seen one before me in the Sabi Sands, and now I'm jealous, Leo Smith. How's that for a nickname? I think that's perfect for Brent. Given that he also talks so much, it should be a perfect conversation starter for Brent. He does like to introduce himself using his entire name, so now he can use the whole nickname too, and should be quite entertaining to see if he can actually repeat what I've just said. So, good nickname for Brent, I think. So, all jokes aside, so far, no signs of any Nkanyeni, Tandi, Vatumi, any of those kind of eastern leopards. It's all seems pretty quiet on that front, but it seems like Djuma has been absolutely busy with leopards. Brent is having a wonderful time. He's managed to find Karula and Hosana, and so all he's missing is Shungile. It would be really nice if he managed to find Shungile with Hosana now. It would be quite an epic way to end the afternoon. So starting to get to that really nice time of the day. You can hear it's starting to get a little bit quieter now. Most of the diurnal animals are starting to find areas to rest or to roost if they're a bird, or just to shut down for the night. And the nocturnals haven't quite gotten going yet, so it's still very, very quiet, and it's like that changeover period. And it's one of my favorite times of the day. I really, really do enjoy this time as it kind of changes between one and the other. It's just that moment of stillness that you get, and it doesn't last for very long. It's often just a fleeting moment of 5-10 minutes, and then something comes and pipes up. And generally at this time of the year, it's the woodland kingfisher, who never really keeps quiet. This is a very interesting question that Dries has sent us, and he's asking about drongos and whether they will mimic meerkats' alarm calls to be able to then steal the food that the meerkat has caught. Dries, they do indeed do that. That is not a lie or a tale or anything like that. They do. They will often mimic other animals. So I've seen them mimic dwarf mongoose before, their alarm call, and steal a scorpion away from a dwarf mongoose. And I've also seen them mimicking pearl-spotted owlets. Now, the pearl-spotted owlet, while it normally doesn't have any sort of prey item that the drongo can steal from it, what it does do is the pearl-spotted owlet is a predatory bird. And so let's say there is another bird that has managed to catch an insect, and the drongo wants that insect. It will mimic that owl, and that bird will think there's a predator in the area, and so will often abandon its food source, because generally that's out in the open, and it will then fly away to get out of that area so it can't be hunted by that owlet, and then swoops the drongo and grabs that little morsel for itself. So very, very cheeky little characters, but highly intelligent. It's quite incredible how they're able to mimic these other animals and to be area specific. So, you know, in this area we don't get meerkats, and so they've adapted to utilize two other predatory animals that are of their size that they can either intimidate or utilize the call for, so in the owls and the mongoose. So really are quite intelligent little birds. And like I say, that's part of the reason why you ask a lot of guides, they really do enjoy the drongo. Like I say, very, very intelligent little bird and very cunning and conniving, and so they're able to find the things that they want quite easily. Alright guys, so we're going to go back to Brent, who's now trying to catch up with the bird challenge. Apparently he's got a very little bird for us.
Look at that. Now, that little bird is alarm calling in the area where we last left Hosana. So he could be upset by that young leopard. And as of course, for those of you who are in the UK, you might recognize this bird. He comes and spends our winters with you and your summers. It is a red-back shrike. There we go. He's showing us his perfect red back there. He's very agitated. You can see that wonderful black face mask of his. He looks like he's a robber, a bandit. Lovely little display going on here. It's agitation. He's getting more agitated again. I'm trying to see if Hosana is maybe trying to eat him, and that's what is causing his agitation. Can't see anything, but very, very pretty bird. Female, not quite as pretty as the male. Well, let's just go have a quick look there, see if it was Hosana that has caused him to disappear. Hosana does like this little thicket area around here. I don't see anything, so maybe let's check back down towards where his mum was. Now, little Shungila is also around here somewhere. And probably, normally not too far from each other at any time. I mean, maybe 100 meters or so at the most. Now, with this long grass, we just saw with Karula, sometimes they can be right here and you just can't see them. Hello, Cajun Queen. Cajun Queen would like to know, how much sleep does a big cat require during the day? Or it depends on the animal and how full their bellies are. I just want to make sure little Hosana isn't lying in one of these little grassy thickets here. So the lions, if they've got a full belly, they can happily sleep 20 hours plus a day. But if they've got to move, they've got to move. If they're hungry, no, it looks like he has gone. where to has he gone? We shall hopefully find out shortly. Leopards normally about 18 hours a day, and again, none of these are fixed set rules. Nothing out here in the bush is a definite, apart from the fact that I suppose at some point everything will die. But I'm trying to see. I think maybe he might have moved further down here towards where his mother was. Now we're listening for all sorts of little things that might give away his presence, that like the alarm calls of a red-backed shrike or cisticular. Now, of course, sorry, I got sidetracked there for a second. Now, is that him there, or is that a stump? Is that a leopard or a stump under that bush, Andrea? But it also depends on how full they are. A little bit to the right. A little bit more to the right. Oh, you also saw something.
But no. Which bush?
Thank you. No, so sorry, a little bit to the left now. And zoom underneath that there to the bush behind. A little bit up. Left a little. Left a little. No, it's a stump. There we go, in the back there. But this is why Karula leaves them in areas like this. They can really fiddle up and down, practice all their stalking skills. Now, it also depends how big their bellies are. So the fuller they are, the more sleep they need, the more heat they produce as they digest what's in their belly. But it all just depends. Now, we've had no luck with young Hosana, but we have spotted another bird for the list. It's going to be a silhouetted Cape Glossy starling. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Silhouetted Cape Glossy starling. Not the best view, but definitely another tick on the list. Now, the true challenge when it comes to the birding will be tomorrow morning, when a lot of the birds are going to be active. Now, of course, we get a bit sidetracked and stuff while we're out there, and FC's doing a million things at once, so we're leaving it up to you guys to keep the list going and keep us updated on how we're all doing. This is going to be a really short one, because it's only, what's the date today? The 30th. When's the 1st? It's tomorrow. What's it? It's 31st tomorrow. So we've only got this afternoon and tomorrow to get those numbers up. So tomorrow is going to be quite the push to see who's going to take it for the month of January. But then in February, of course, we'll have the whole month of February, and I'm quite sure when Taylor gets back, she'll definitely want to join us for this in February. James has politely declined. I'm just going to have a quick look where Karula was. Also still checking that the cubs aren't also around here. Shongile was last seen probably opposite where we had Karula. Now, of course, our grand dam could have quite easily slunk off as it's got cooler, but she hasn't. She is still like a picnic blanket in the lovely green grass. There we go. Karula, the picnic blanket. Actually, the more I think about it, I think I walked right past her and she was lying on the ground, and she probably watched me walk past her. Hello, Simon. Simon would like to know about the mud on the tree above Queen Karula. Now, judging from its height, there's only one animal that could have done that, and that's an elephant after a mud bath. So it's come to this marula. I think it's placed its bottom on the marula and then rubbed up and down to get rid of any irritating ticks that might have been encased in the mud that it covered itself in. And there are an incredible amount of ticks out at the moment in the grass. As Jandre knows very well, as he is the Bushwalk TV cameraman, him and Steph are constantly covered in ticks. Now, it's still quite humid, and that's probably why Karula hasn't got off and got up on the hunt, but we are hoping that she might. Although, if I had to be a betting man, I would say unless something inadvertently stumbled into her at the moment, she might sleep for quite some time before she gets up and goes hunting tonight. Just trying to listen to what birds we can hear as we pass from day to dark. Now, Chrissy is wondering, do lions get the most sleep out of all the big cats because nothing is hunting them? No, they get the most sleep out of all the big cats because they're the biggest. And it's not because no one's hunting them, it's because being bigger, they have even bigger trouble dispelling heat. So they cannot move around when it's very hot. If the lion's core body temperature raises by just a degree or two, it can actually put their life in danger. So that's why they don't move around so much. So the lions being bigger and having a bigger problem dispelling heat is the reason they get the most sleep. Although Karula's doing a very good job of it this evening. You can just barely make out her belly going up and down. There we go. I think a biting fly got her there. But while we wait to see whether the Queen decides to make a royal march this evening, let's go see how Tristan's up to back on Djuma.
So, Brent sounds like he's making excuses for the amount of sleep that he gets, being the largest, well, one of the larger of the Safari Live crew. He loves a good nap during the day, and so I think that's why he's equating lions to larger, meaning more sleep. I think he's trying to wangle his way into a better sleeping regime, but he's not going to fool us. We know that it's not necessarily the case with you, Brent Leo Smith. So we've kind of come along. So Rebecca's just said to me that a lot of you would like to know what now means. So here in South Africa we have varying degree of words which will describe a time period. So we have now, which is in the sort of close, well, in the near future, which would be fairly sort of soon. Then you've got just now, which tends to imply slightly longer. It's a little bit more than that. Then you've got now, which is immediate. So we have quite a few different ones, but now is kind of in between now and just now, if we can put it that way. And so there's no definitive time for that. It's just kind of not right now, but it won't be too much in the future either. It will be fairly shortly. I hope that gives a description. I know it's very complicated, but here in South Africa you grow up with it, and we end up using it quite a lot, and it becomes second nature when people say it, that you kind of just know in your head that that's what it means. We're going to just poke our noses over at Twin Dams here and have a little look. It's not really been that hot, and after the rain there's quite a lot of puddles formed everywhere, and so it's not really going to mean that a lot of things will come and drink, but it's always worth just having a check. There is what looks like a hyena approaching, actually, from the top side there. Don't know if you can see it, Wiem, but there we go. Have a look at that. That's a stroke of luck. I haven't actually seen many hyenas. I was chatting to Wiem about it earlier this afternoon, and I was telling him that I haven't seen too many, seen quite a few tracks, but actually not too many of them themselves. So I'm quite happy to actually see this. I know the hyenas in this area have unfortunately not been around very much. I think with the Nkuhumas and the Birminghams being around, it's kind of pushed a lot of them away, and also the big clan to the west on Elephant Plains and Simambili side, they are getting larger and larger, and it's starting to push the clan that was around Djuma further northwards. And this looks like a fairly young one. It's just starting to come a little bit closer. It looks like a young male. You'll often find these young males roaming around by themselves. You can see he's got his nose down, sniffing around, so looking for any sort of potential signs of food. They know at this time of the day is when some of the predators are starting to get active, and so for them it's a good time to go sniffing around. And I believe that a few days ago Shongile was here with a rotten monitor, so maybe there's a few kind of smells and scents around from when they were here, and that's why this hyena is kind of come into this area to try and see what's going on. But he's just kind of dropped down into a little thicket behind us. I don't think we're going to be able to follow. I'm going to try reverse and just see if we can get a visual. So just give me 2 seconds. Now, unfortunately, this hyena has gone into a very, very dense thicket, so we're not going to be able to follow. But it's been an absolutely beautiful afternoon, and what a nice surprise to finish. I'm really, really happy to have seen that hyena. Like I say, it's the first one that I've seen since I've been with Safari Live, so very, very happy. And on that note, just from Wiem and myself, would like to say thank you very much for joining us. I hope you guys had a good time. The cheetah was exceptional. Such a beautiful area as well, and so I really, really enjoyed having you along. I hope you guys enjoyed it too, and we look forward to seeing you all in the morning. We'll be back out and about, and hopefully we'll have lots of little surprises for you in the morning.
Oh, there we go. Karula's popped her head up, and it looks like she's getting ready to begin her nightly chore of providing Hosana and Shongile with food. There we go. There she is, the queen, after snoozing for most of the day. She's very close to where Jamie left her at the end of the sunrise safari. Having a good scratch. Might head off for a drink. I hope she heads off towards quarantine. That's what it looks like she's going to do. Now, Tamara Bacon, who's a new viewer, would like to know, what is a fireside chat? Tomorrow, you're in for such a treat. It's when all the guides get together and we have a discussion or chat, and in this one it's going to be in the honor of Hosana and Shongile's birthday. But also, and there's some other news that is going to be happening this week, and depending on where you are, it might make you happy, it might make you sad. I think for quite a few of the Safari Live crew, especially the ones in final control, it might make them a little bit happy. We will be going out slightly later in the mornings from the 1st of February. On the 1st of February, we will be going out at 5:30 Central African time, so half an hour later for the sunrise safari. No, Karula, don't go south, or if you do, catch something before you cross the boundary. And for the last few seconds of this sunset safari, goodbye from Jean and myself as Karula walks down weaver's nest. And of course, Tristan, I only saw a golden pipit once. Dix, I will have to teach a lesson about birding on the Sunrise Safari. So from all of us here at Safari Live, have a wonderful rest of your day or evening wherever you are.